Hey, hey, hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. There's nothing like betrayal to throw your self-esteem for a loop. When your spouse betrays you, you are devastated. But your devastation might pale in comparison to the hit that your self-esteem takes when this happens. Infidelity is the worst of the worst when it comes to damaging your self-esteem. Even though you know it's not about you, there are still society's messages directed at you. Today on rSpace, we help OP out of the rabbit hole that is the destroyer of self-esteem. If you're familiar with the original story, jump to update 1 using the timestamps. Caught my wife cheating on me, and I know exactly when it started. I caught my wife with a affair partner in our bed, and I kicked him out of my house. Oh boy, this is long. Me, 44 male, and my soon-to-be ex, female 39, been married for 11 years, no kids. We were a pretty chubby couple until 2 years ago when I had a blood test and it came out that I was prone to contracting diabetes, gout, and hypertension. It really scared me, and we both bit by bit started to have a very healthy life. I went from 117 to 85 kilograms, and my wife, let's call her Jane, from 83 to 65 kilograms. We felt great, and needless to say, I never developed those diseases. We attended to a gym almost daily in the afternoon where an affair partner worked as a coach. Let's call him Baldy. When my wife started getting in shape, I noticed most guys turned to see her. I felt so proud of her. She is fairly busty, and she has magnificent legs. Of course, Baldy wasn't the exception. I noticed Baldy likes to check women's butts. I've seen him doing it several times, and he likes to show off how ripped he is. When Jane and I were regulars at the gym, I noticed she was enjoying the attention she got from men. Once, we were using the elliptical machines. In front of them, there was a cable machine. Baldy took off his t-shirt and started doing crossovers. I turned to Jane with my face of, "Can you believe this guy?" But she was staring at him and she wet her lips. I saw Baldy and I swear he was grinning. I felt crushed. I mean, I was getting in shape, but I am not as muscular and fit as he is. When we were driving home, I made a comment about Baldy showing off and Jane said, "Really? I didn't notice." I told her, "You were staring." She said, "I don't remember. I must have been thinking about something else." I shrugged it off and kept driving, but from there on, I noticed they were talking more frequently at the gym. Some weeks later, Jane was doing squats using the Smith machine. Suddenly, Baldy went to help her. Isn't he nice? He is grabbing her by the waist, and I got angry. She finished the first set, and I got there and told him in a not a nice way, "I got it from here." Baldy just smiled and told me, "No problem, buddy." He calls everybody buddy, and walked off. Jane knows me very well, and when she heard my angry tone, she said, "Oh my God, OP." I told her, "We'll discuss this at home." At home, drama blew up. She called me immature and jealous. I told her I noticed he was trying to get into her pants, but she said that she knows that, but she would never cheat on me. I said then why does she let him touch her, and she said she didn't want to be rude. About an hour later, arguing, we agreed to change gyms. So we went to another place to do exercises. But Jane was resentful at me in the following months. Her argument was that I don't trust her. On the third month after we changed gyms, a very good opportunity opened up in my job, but in the afternoon. We discussed it, and I took it, and we had to attend the gym at different hours. I went in the morning and Jane in the afternoon. This is when it all went south. Jane's resentment increased and we barely speak. I send her messages telling her about my day, that I miss her, memes, but she rarely replied, or just, "Yes, okay, same here, ha 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 ha." I was very worried and proposed couples therapy. She said I was the one who needed therapy because I'm the one with trust issues. I agreed. I was so desperate to fix our marriage that I even thought it was all my fault. So in the following year, 2022, I went to therapy, but Jane's behavior didn't change. We weren't intimate anymore. She never was in the mood. I snooped to her phone, but didn't find anything out of the ordinary. I looked into her car for a second phone, nothing. I checked her phone again to see her map history. It only showed me, house, work, house, gym, house. Whenever I tried to talk to her, she said she just feels that she's having a 40s phase. It'll pass. I never had any evidence of cheating, so I continued working and worrying. We live in a condo. The security guard, a very cheerful man called Mr. P, greeted me. We chat a lot. He was touching his shoulder, and he told me yesterday he had to move a heavy sofa and he has some pain today. I was sympathetic and he dropped the bomb. "Maybe you can arrange a meeting with your massagist." I told him, "Who?" He said, "The guy who came yesterday to massage Mrs. Jane." It took me a second to process this. I told him, "Do you have a video of him?" I think he noticed I was pale and hurried to show me. Guess who? Baldy, of course. He has come over a few times to massage my wife. I took the day off and started investigating. I asked a coworker for his car, and in the afternoon I followed Jane. She parked her car at the mall where the gym is. and there's Baldy waiting for her. They giggle and behave like a couple. Kisses, hugs, and I feel nearly to tears. They walk a couple blocks and go into a residential area. I tried to follow them with my phone ready to record, but the guard stopped me and asked, "Can I help you?" I just said, "What a nice couple. Do you know them?" He said he thinks they're newlyweds, but can't tell me anything else. I called Jane, but never answered. I went to her car in the mall and wondered why that place doesn't show up on the map. I dial again and I can hear her phone inside her car. That's why. I also found out Jane hasn't attended the gym in 8 months. I didn't know that the previous night was the last day I slept with Jane in the same bed. I returned the car and went home and called my parents. Fortunately, my dad answered and I told him everything. I was crying and he comforted me and told me to get evidence. Obviously, my marriage is over, and I need all I can gather while he'll contact one of his friends who is an excellent divorce lawyer. Jane called me when she saw the 2 missed calls. I just told her I was already at home and she told me, "I'm on my way from the gym. My butt is killing me." Yeah, I can guess. When she saw me, she asked, "What happened? Why did you cry?" I don't know how, but I was mentally focused. I smiled and I told her I got the flu, that's why I left work early. Don't come near me. It might be the bug. I'll be tested tomorrow. I'll sleep in the spare room. She agreed. I cried silently and didn't sleep a wink. Nearly midnight, I hear her giggling. I guess she's messaging Baldy, but I didn't find any evidence of contacting another man. Then it hit me. Why didn't I see it earlier? I bet affair partner is disguised as one of her female co-workers. In the morning, while Jane was in the shower, I took her phone and created a session in my laptop and put her phone back in the same place. We both can unlock our phones. The session works while the phone is close to my laptop or in the same Wi-Fi account. Then I saw it. Under a female name. The profile picture was a dumbbell. I entered and most of the conversations were deleted. I guess they use work words as code in case I snooped. "Can you deliver the papers in my desk?" I know she doesn't have a desk at work. "Going to the meeting. Where are you?" On top of them, "Boss is in his office. He's clueless." Pretty clever. I guess I am boss because I know her boss is a woman. Jane got out of the shower and saw me. "You look worse. Why don't you stay with your parents?" I denied the idea of thinking of getting evidence. After Jane went out, I contacted my dad and he gave me the name and number from the lawyer. I called him and explained everything. He told me the captions I took from my laptop are useless. They don't have any factual evidence since it's not affair partner's name, and she was smart enough to leave pieces of conversation that looks pretty innocent. I can take pictures of them at the mall, but she can argue that they are just good fellas and I can't invade into the residential area without permission because it might get me into more trouble. At work, I was in zombie mode, thinking how to get evidence. I might install secret cameras in my house, but Baldy rarely goes to my home and Jane might find them. Unless I'm out of the picture. I texted Jane and told her I'm positive of the bug and I'll stay at my parents' because I might need help. She liked the idea and told me she would miss me, but she'll call me every day. When I hung up, I called my dad and my brother. When I got home, she had already packed a suitcase for me. She was so eager to get rid of me. I told her I'll take my laptop and then I checked her messages. "Boss will be out of the office. Want to come to my desk?" She sent this message almost after I told her I was positive of the bug. Good, she bit. We didn't have dinner. No kisses, no hugs. I noticed her watching her watch twice. From the door, I told her, "I'll miss you." I was expecting her to shut the door in my face, but she walked me to my car and I was gone. My dad and brother were outside the building waiting for Baldy to appear, but he didn't show up. After half an hour, I thought, why did she walk me to my car? Of course, because Baldy was already inside the building waiting, perhaps inside her car. It would be very suspicious if her massagist came at this hour. I came back, hurried to my house, and entered silently. I heard music coming from the bedroom and the moaning. Next to the door, there is a sofa. His and her clothes were on it. I put my phone to record and opened the bedroom door, and there she was, my wife, the love of my life for 11 years, on all fours and Baldy behind her. I got a very good few seconds of both of their faces when they saw me open the door. Jane screamed and covered herself with the blanket. Baldy went alpha male immediately, walking naked towards me. I took a shot of him doing raw my wife. He yelled aggressively at me, "Why don't you go for a walk, buddy?" I hit his throat with my hand opened. I saw this movement in a Mel Gibson movie, Ransom. The next second, Baldy was coughing and gasping, kneeling on the floor. I yelled, "Get out of my house!" and kicked him out. I threw his clothes at him when my dad, brother, and Mr. P were arriving at my house. I told them, "I'll take it from here," and closed the door. Jane was still on the bed covering herself. She was trembling. I told her, "I have never hurt you, nor will I. Get dressed. I'll wait for you in the living room." While I was waiting, I sent the video to my lawyer and he answered, "I'm sorry for you, but jackpot." A few minutes later, Jane showed up. She couldn't look me in the eyes. I started recording the conversation. I asked, why? She didn't answer. Was I such an awful husband to you? She started crying but didn't answer. Do you love him? She shook her head but no words. I stand up and hit the table. Say something, dang it! She opened her eyes wide and started trembling again, like a puppy when it is scared. I have never yelled at her before. I sat and talked calmly. My lawyer will contact you for the divorce. Get a lawyer. She finally spoke. We can fix this. Fix what? Our marriage was over since Baldy was on the picture and you chose him over me. It was a mistake. No, it wasn't. It was a choice. You chose, and this is the consequence. What did you think would happen when I found out? Silence again. Go to your sisters and tell her the truth, or I will show her the video. She went to the bedroom and started packing. I followed her and watched. Since 2 days ago, I was trying to convince myself my wife is long gone. The person who I shared my house with is not my wife. But seeing her, putting her clothes inside the suitcase, neatly, with her gracious movements and those little things I love of her, hit me hard. I went to the spare room and started ugly crying. I heard when she closed the main door. She picked her clothes that were on the sofa. She made the bed where I caught them, and I dropped to the floor. So much later, I called my dad. He told me Baldy wanted to press charges, but Mr. P told him he didn't sign in, so he's trespassing. The condo can sue him. He dropped it and went out. My nosy brother pressed his ear to the door, and my dad took him from the other ear to his car. I was exhausted. The previous days I didn't sleep well, so I almost passed out on the spare room. Next morning, my phone had a lot of Jane's messages apologizing and asking for a second chance. I just blocked her. My sister-in-law called me. Apparently Jane hasn't told her what happened, just that we're fighting. I guess it's good my father-in-law is not alive to see Jane's behavior. She was the youngest and his favorite. Mother-in-law has senile dementia. All this happened a week ago. Next week, Jane is going to be served. I feel like you're absolutely right when you say she's not your wife anymore. She's not the wife you married, at least. I feel like when people have significant changes to their lives, such as losing weight, it sort of reinvents them in a way, and certain people see new doors open for them. Sometimes that means they see what appears to be things they've been missing out on. For some reason, she equates missing out on life to missing out on other men when she had a perfectly fine marriage with someone who loved her unconditionally for who she was and not what she looked like. Instead of looking to feed this newborn ego with no good men, she should have seen this as an opportunity to do things together that you wouldn't normally get the opportunity to do, or maybe what the weight would have stopped you from doing, like even being adventurous in the bedroom with your newfound self-confidence. There's tons of ways to explore life and enjoy the new you, and cheating isn't one of them. She effed up. Update. Hi everybody, I'm back with a juicy update. You'll enjoy this as much as I do. I'd like to cover some points before starting the update. First, I want to thank everybody who contacted me and gave me advice. Congratulate me or just let me know they care. I've read from other posts that the support you get is mind-blowing, but it's the first time I've experienced so much care from strangers. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Second, as you can guess, English is my second language, so I messed up in some sentences and confused prepositions. Sorry about that. Also, I wrongly said Jane was doing sit-ups. She was doing squats. Third, to those who think my story is fake, you are entitled to think whatever you want. I just hope my testimony helps someone in the future as much as others have helped me. Fourth, about how I hit the affair partner. It was not a fancy ninja punch. I just chop in the throat that, frankly, it was lucky I reacted before Baldy did. I won't lie, seeing him on the floor coughing felt great. Fifth, some of the readers found a post I made in Ask and Ask Reddit a month before D-Day. I never got it posted because I didn't understand the rules of the community, and today it isn't important anymore. A quick summarize. Jane and I were trying to be parents for 10 years. On the 8th year, we saved enough money to buy 3 opportunities in the most expensive and successful reproduction clinic here in my country. All 3 failed. Jane started her affair during the 3rd one. That's the clinic where my blood was tested, and adding the history of diseases from my family, they gave me the probabilities of developing diabetes, gout, hypertension, and having strokes. I should thank them. Someone mentioned that Jane intentionally aborted in the 3rd shot because it might be affair partner's baby. Well, that's not possible, because for her it's almost impossible to conceive naturally. The embryos were fecunded in vitro and then implanted directly in her womb. I tried to repost my question, but she came and told me, I don't want to have kids anymore. So I dropped it. I'm sure Baldy doesn't have anything to do with her decision. This is important for later. Let's continue with the update. It's been 12 days since D-Day. What have I been doing from there? D-Day +1, Friday. I had a nice chat with Mr. P. He confessed he faked his shoulder pain. He just wanted to warn me about Baldy. As he told me, a very nosy neighbor saw when I kicked Baldy naked from my apartment. Surely in a week, the whole condo will know my situation. My brother came to help me change the lock on the door. When he left, I felt so alone and cried a lot. I called my job to ask for the day off. At night, I spoke to my lawyer. He said he's making the divorce papers. He couldn't start until he had the evidence, so my divorce will be divorce by mutual consent. That's smoother than uncaused divorce. That's longer and pretty nasty. Also, he told me not to share the video. Jane will be served in 2 weeks. Sister-in-law called me, but I told her to ask Jane why we're divorcing. D-Day +2, Saturday. Sister-in-law came and I showed her the video. I drove her home and saw Jane's car. When I got home, I felt crushed and cried some more. D-Day +3, Sunday. I visited my parents. My mom cried with me. She really loved Jane. My dad had a chat with me about my money, properties, and stuff. When I returned home, Mr. P told me Jane and Baldy showed up. I guess they are going to make public their relationship now that the cat is out of the bag. But strangely, they came at different times. Jane came in the morning. She parked her car and saw mine wasn't there. Tried to enter my house, but her key doesn't work anymore. Then she asked Mr. P if he knew where I went. He didn't know and told her,
Mr. OP gave me this for you.
My attorney's card. She kept it and left. Baldy came in the afternoon and first asked to see Jane. Mr. P told him,
Mrs. Jane,
emphasis on Mrs.,
doesn't live here anymore.
Then asked to see me, and Mr. P told him,
Mr. OP is away. No idea when he'll return.
And he left. I guess they both are not in contact yet. I wanted to ask about Jane. Is she sad? Did she look healthy? Did she ask about my well-being? But then I remembered D-Day and just thanked and said goodnight to Mr. P. When I got home, I cried a lot again. D-Day +4, Monday. I didn't want to, but something I learned from all you champions is to hit hard the gym. So I looked for a new gym near my job and had a good session. I felt pretty good. Then I returned to work. At home, I didn't cry this time and started taking out all of Jane's pictures. D-Day +5, Tuesday. Had a meeting with my lawyer to review my assets. Fortunately, my dad made Jane sign a prenup, so she can't touch anything I had before we got married. My house, mainly. All remaining stuff gets divided 50-50, and I can get a compensation for her adultery. As compensation, I'm going to take out alimony. I can fight for all the stuff, but everything reminds me of her, and I want to start new. When I left home, I heard whispers. I turned my head and saw two neighbors that immediately pretended they didn't see me. They walked in front of me and greeted me. I knew this would happen. After that, I went to the gym and work. This repeats all week, so I'm going to omit. D-Day +6, Wednesday. Nothing interesting. I only have Facebook as social media. I ignore all DMs asking me to contact Jane. I closed it and opened Reddit and had a nice time reading about all you champions that overcame what I had been experiencing. I feel better. So I thought of sharing my own experience. D-Day +7, Thursday. I started writing. I posted it before going to the gym. When I was at work, it amazed me how many people were reacting to my story. I answered some comments. D-Day +8, Friday. I was reading my comments and answering all morning. I was smiling. Feels good to be appreciated. 2 comments stuck in my mind that I didn't think about. 1, report affair partner to my old gym. And 2, my home is tainted. I need a fresh start. So before I went to the gym, I looked for real estate agents to sell or rent my house. I'm not comfortable here anymore. I haven't entered into my bedroom since D-Day. I've been sleeping in the spare room. I don't want to live like this. D-Day +9, Saturday. Since Jane would come and bother me, I decided to spend the day outside. She did come, then she visited my parents and brother. They just texted me, Jane came. I answered, thank you, I don't want to talk about her yet. D-Day +10, Sunday. I spent the day with my parents. We visited a town 2 hours from the city and had a blast. I don't know if Jane came. My dad told me not to sell my house, but to rent it. I agreed and went home. When I got home, Mr. P told me Baldy came in the afternoon and alone again. He asked for me, but Mr. P told him I'm away. He left without a word. D-Day +11, Monday. Yesterday, Monday morning, I went to my old gym. I was not sure if I'd meet Baldy. He worked in the afternoon, but he was screwing my wife in the afternoon, so I thought he'd changed his shift. He was nowhere. I asked to talk to Frank, the gym owner. While I was waiting for him, I met an old janitor I used to chat with. He told me to say hi to Miss Jane. I guess my new normal is to tell everyone we split up. I smiled at him. Frank finally received me. I asked about Baldy. He told me Monday is his day off. He asked for more hours and now he works from Tuesday to Sunday in the morning. Then I explained the reason for my visit. He listened carefully until I finished and finally showed him the video. He stayed silent and thinking, he said, "You're not gonna like this." I just thought, what now? Frank called the receptionist to bring Harry, another coach and Baldy's friend. He has a big beard. Frank asked him to tell me about Baldy's girlfriend. Fasten your seatbelts, this is good. According to Harry, Baldy is head over heels for Jane, and Frank confirmed it. He told me Baldy had many complaints, especially from female members, but for the last months, he has changed. No complaints, and he's very professional to all the members. And Harry told me something that made my jaw drop. Baldy is trying to marry Jane by baby trapping her. I was processing this information when I felt something starting from my chest. It climbed up my throat and finally blew up in my mouth. I laughed. I swear I was Joker madly laughing. I even teared a bit. Frank and Harry were very confused. I thought, oh, sweet karma, thank you. After I calmed, but with a big grin on my face, Harry asked what was going on, and Frank explained, "This is Baldy's girlfriend's husband." Harry made a shocked face.
Oh man, this is bad. This is really messed up.
Harry left. Next, we discussed about firing Baldy. Frank said he has to report the situation to the Coach Association, not real name, and he surely has to fire him because Jane was a gym member of Frank's gym, could have legal repercussions. About his license as coach, I need to make a legal document explaining Baldy is the reason of my divorce, the key number of my divorce case, and the video. My attorney will give the video to the Coaches Association attorney. I can't share it. Baldy will lose his license from that association, but he can go to another association and apply for another license. It'd take months though. I asked if Baldy can appeal. Frank said he might, but it would be a waste of energy. The association does not tolerate such conduct. Also, he doesn't have the money to pay for somebody who represents him. That reminded me of the residential area where he entered with Jane. I thought Baldy was wealthy. Frank brought his face closer to me.
What residential area?
I showed on the Maps app.
You tailed them to this place?
I did, on D-Day -1. Frank got angry.
That's where my late father's house is.
And Frank's father passed away. He inherited the house. All the equipment that's obsolete or needs repair goes to that house. He lent Baldy the key to go and keep some stuff occasionally, but he does not have permission to stay there. He surely has a copy of the key, and he might be living there illegally. He's going to investigate this further. It'll be easy since there are tons of cameras in that place. I was leaving the gym when I heard,
Mr. OP, wait.
It was Harry. He told me he was sorry about what's happening. Baldy never told him who his girlfriend was. He just said that he met her at XXX Mall. I thanked him and took a step towards the exit. He rushed.
Can you tell me what happened?
I told him, pretty much what you heard. He was screwing my wife and now I'm divorcing her. Another step.
What will happen to Baldy?
That depends on Frank and the Coaches Association. I tried to take another step.
But how are you handling it?
Okay, now this is strange. I stared at Harry and remembered Baldy went to my house twice. I said, you called Baldy and he's on his way here, right? You're just buying time. Am I wrong? He made a guilty face.
Please, Mr. OP, talk to him. He's really desperate. He was crying yesterday. His your wife, isn't returning his calls.
Tell me, why should I care if he's rotting in hell?
I'll be here with you, so you don't need to be scared.
I laughed. Scared? Of that weakling? He didn't tell you I kicked him out of my house naked, right? Harry didn't believe me. Fine, let's see what he wants. I saw there are cameras where we were talking and sat in front of a table in the reception. I don't think Baldy is stupid enough to attack me, but who knows? Besides, I'm really curious about what he wants. He came running 10 minutes later and saw me waiting for him. He extended his hand. I crossed my arms and left him with the hand hanging. What the hell do you want? I looked angrily directly into his eyes. He sat in front of me.
Listen, buddy.
Stop right there. We are not buddies. Mr. S, the janitor, is my buddy. You are not. He seemed apologetic.
Okay, my bad. I want to say I'm sorry for everything. I never wanted to hurt you, and I really care about Jane.
Well, you just said 3 lies to my face. You are not sorry. You did mean to destroy my life, and you just care about yourself. He changed from apologetic to annoyed.
Okay, whatever, man. Just tell me where Jane is.
Last time I saw her was when I kicked her cheating butt out of my house after I kicked you out naked. I know Harry was listening. Baldy's face changed color to red.
That was a cheap shot. I should sue you.
As far as I know, you entered my home illegally, and perhaps you were raping my wife. I have videos of you getting out, but you didn't sign in. He changed again.
Okay, I'm sorry. Tell me what you want from me, please. Tell Jane I need to speak to her.
In that moment, Frank came in a rush. I guess he saw through the cameras that Baldy showed up.
Everything okay here?
Everything is fine, Frank. I was just telling this sissy what I want. I stand up and talk close to Baldy's face. What I want is what is coming for you. What you deserve. What the law has prepared for you. I want to crush your dreams just like you did with mine. You want kids? Guess what? You won't, and you will never have. Baldy said,
What's that supposed to mean?
But Frank asked him to see him in his office. Harry looked impressed. He grabbed Baldy's arm and pulled him.
Dude, you're in deep crap.
I finally left. D-Day +12, Tuesday. I feel I'm ready to face Jane now. I'm still grinning while I type this. So, how have you been? Radar 1031 from the community says, stay strong, man, and be prepared for the biggest bunch of BS to get thrown at you over the next few weeks. She's so sorry, she only loves you, she doesn't know what she was thinking, all the usual crap. This is so much worse than the run-of-the-mill affair in that she found it amusing to use secret code words that made you look like some loser. She couldn't wait to get Baldy into your house. She's scum, and the only answer here is scorched earth, my friend. Bury them both. I can't think of more deserving people. The OP replies, of course, my friend. Thanks to all the people who have passed for all this crap and left their testimony. I know what is coming. I'm mentally getting ready for the war. Gerbil in my butthole says, OP, don't stop working out. Keep eating right, throw away the bed, and put the condo up for sale. I would find a new one. That one is tainted. Sounds like you have a support system, and just get back into some hobbies to keep you busy, along with your support group and your work. OP, just another thought. You should go take a week or two vacation with some buddies and go somewhere the women are aplenty. Enjoy your time away. Don't post until the divorce is finalized. Edit. Saw you were trying for kids. Take half the money you saved and use it for this vacation. Make sure the money is earmarked, and don't forget to open up a new account. The OP replies, I completely agree with you. I started paying for this place for 10 years, before I married soon-to-be ex. Now I can't enter into the room where I found them. I've installed in the spare room now, but just as you say, it's tainted. I'll sell as soon as the divorce is over. Good part is, Jane signed a prenup thanks to my dad. I love that wise man. Wow, I have a few thoughts. Baldy seems like a real piece of work. Honestly, she gave it up for the first moron who showed her meaningless attention. He's just one of those guys who feeds his ego with women who laugh at his jokes and smile at him because he's being creepy and they think it's a way to get rid of him. I don't know why anyone would want to cheat on their partner with this cheap sleazeball. I mean, Jane obviously has some self-confidence issues, but dang, that's a new low. And then for Baldy to say that he's fallen head over heels? Please. This guy needs to get a grip. He must be just as self-conscious. Maybe they deserve each other. Two airheads in a pod. At the same time, I think for Harry to say that you should talk to Baldy because he's desperate is totally out of line. It shouldn't be any of his or anybody's business but you and your ex. And then for Baldy to beg you to get a hold of Jane, it's also bass-ackwards. Moreover, I think you're right to rent this place out. I wouldn't stay there. Like you said, it's tainted. And it's not yours anymore. It doesn't fit the narrative to your new life. Let us know your thoughts so far in the comments below. Update 2. Hi again. I didn't expect to update so soon, but something important has happened. I'd like to share something that my therapist told me. Do you remember I started therapy because Jane suggested I'm having trust issues? Turns out I don't have any. I'm one step to become a very gullible person. But the therapist noticed I have a lot of insecurities due to my obesity. Since I can remember, I was a chubby, nerdy guy at school. Never a boyfriend, always best friend. I had my first girlfriend at 18, and she dumped me a week later for a better-looking guy. I went to an engineering high school, so ladies were few. My next relationship was at my 20s with a very toxic girl who blamed me for everything, even for the rain. She really did a job on me, making me feel guilty for anything that pops in her mind. Later, I started working because my family had money problems and I didn't have another relationship until I met Jane at university. The previous session to the last one with my therapist, we discussed my feelings about not having kids. She has helped me to get my priorities in order. Number 1, me and everything that covers myself like physical, health, gym and eating well, intelligence, studying, learning, mental challenges, and soul, beliefs, moral ethics. Number 2, people who live with me, Jane. Number 3, family and friends. Number 4, work. Number 5, leisure and entertainment. Last session was about Jane. The therapist asked about my plans. I told her I will divorce Jane. She told me it is normal I'm in such distress because my priority 2 is crumbling. I will have to pass through similar stages of grieving death: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I had to Google them because I forgot them. I'm in the bargaining stage because I'm thinking a lot of what ifs. For example, what if she really is remorseful? What if we're the golden couple who will survive an infidelity? But the reality is that I will never trust her ever again. It will kill me knowing that she's at home alone doing God knows what when I'm at work. Torture for me. Depression is a dangerous stage in my case because it can lead me to gaining weight again. I should stick to the gym and watch closely my diet. Hope this info helps people who are grieving. Now the update. I've been very busy. I applied for a promotion at the job. I could have taken it a long time ago, but it demands a lot of traveling. I feel it will help me heal to be away. Also, I've been looking for a new place to live and I found one small apartment perfect for me. I've already paid 3 months of rent in advance. I'll move as soon as possible. I haven't seen Jane since D-Day, or Baldy since that Monday when, I am sure, he was fired. On the bright side, one of my neighbors, a lady in her 50s, met me in the condo's elevator. She told me she hasn't seen Jane lately. I told her we're slipping apart. And then she happens to remember she's having a dinner and her single niece is coming for a few days and I'm invited. It took me by surprise. Looks like I'm in the market again. My attorney told me Jane was going to be served last Friday, but we had some festivities in my country, so she was served last Sunday morning at my in-laws' home. The following Monday, somebody, Jane I guess, slided a letter under my door, 3 sheets back and front, from Jane, mainly explaining about what led her to cheat. Here, we'll introduce the second villainess in the story, a coworker. We'll call her Flirty. I met her sometimes at Jane's work events, like Christmas or anniversary celebrations. She's really thin, almost skinny, and usually wears a lot of makeup. Also, she thinks every man wants to sleep with her. One time, she told Jane I was staring at her. I did once, because I could see her ribs and I thought she was unhealthily thin. Anyway, according to Jane's letter, when she lost weight, Flirty approached her because she wanted them to be best friends since they are the 2 hotties at work. That's when the brainwashing started. Flirty made her think she deserves a better man. She's entitled to it. She told her I was a pathetic man that will try to own her now that she's hot. When the incident with the Smith machine happened, Flirty said to Jane,
See, didn't I tell you? He wants to be your owner more than your husband.
Jane bought it, and due to Flirty's manipulation, she was resentful to me for months. When we attended the gym at different times, Jane met Baldy accidentally at the mall, and he approached her. She confessed she had a crush for a guy similar to Baldy before I met her. She never told me that before. They went for a bite, and they both flirted. Jane showed Flirty Baldy's picture from Facebook, and she told her she'll be a dumb witch if she didn't F him. Besides, her pathetic husband, me, doesn't compare with that Greek god. She had the opportunity, she was eager, so she did. Baldy took her to his house that coincidentally is close to the mall where they ran into each other. So she doesn't know that's Frank's dad's home. All this happened 9 months ago. Flirty is a professional cheater. She told Jane how to cover her tracks, the work words code, to hide Baldy's contact, and to hide her map tracking historial. She even told her that changing her phone password is stupid because I'll immediately suspect. Jane noticed Baldy hated when she talked about me, and as punishment, he made hickeys on her body. Now I remember she started using pajamas to sleep because it was cold. He used to trash me, but she never played along. Meanwhile, Flirty used to tell her that she's entitled to this romance, and I deserve being cheated on because I'm a beta. During those months, she says she liked the feeling of danger, the thrill, and the sex with Baldy was good. But it also hurt her seeing me struggle trying to be a better husband and knowing she was the reason of my pain. It was easier to ignore me and continue with the pleasure Baldy gave her. D-Day arrives. I completely blindsided her. She thought I was clueless. I'm going to write this part just like she wrote it. I was in shock and I covered myself with a blanket by pure instinct. When I reacted, I saw you pushing and kicking Baldy out of the room and the house. When I heard you closing the door and coming back, I didn't know what to say. I have never seen you this angry before. Then you said, I have never hurt you, nor will I. That's true. In the years we've known each other, you have never hurt me. Not even when we found out that it's my fault that we can't have children. After that, she heard me crying in the spare room. She wanted to comfort me, but how could she? In the main door, we have a mirror to check ourselves before going out. She looked at herself, but she couldn't bear the look. When she entered her car, she cried and told herself, What have I done? Baldy called her that night, but she blocked him. She arrived at sister-in-law's house at about midnight, 2 hours later after the drama. Her house is around 40 minutes from mine. She was scared of telling sister-in-law what happened, because she's older and she has a very strong character. Next day, she told Flirty what had happened. Flirty told her she should be happy that she got rid of me. I'm going to copy this part too.
And then what? Babe, you're free. You can have sex with Baldy or any guy you want. And then? I don't follow you. What will happen when I'm tired of having sex with a bunch of guys? Then you can decide which one to date seriously. And then what? I don't know. Get married, I suppose. But I already had a marriage. But it was with OP. He's a loser. I bet Baldy is 100 times better than him. No, that's not true. He gave me a good life. Don't settle for so little. You can have a better man.
Then they proceed to have a big fight in front of the coworkers. She can't recall it well, but she remembers swearing and yelling at her. Flirty told her that any guy hotter than me is better than me. I don't get what she has against me. But Jane realized what she destroyed. She was inconsolable and her boss let her go home early. The next day is when I showed sister-in-law the video. Jane was babysitting sister-in-law's twins. After I drove her home, sister-in-law asked Jane to help her going to do some errands. Just the two of them. That was a lie. They parked at a park and she demanded to know what was happening in her head to cheat on me. Jane cried and told her, I don't know. Sister-in-law confessed she was envious of our marriage. 11 years and not a huge fight. We both looked happy. She couldn't believe her little sister was capable of such a thing. Jane was there for her sister-in-law when her ex-husband left her for another woman. Jane asked her not to kick her out, but sister-in-law told her she can stay. After all, the house belonged to both of them. But she let her know she's very disappointed and she will side with me if I ever needed help. Jane understood. Next Sunday, Jane came to apologize, but I was not home. When she received my attorney's card, she called and my attorney confirmed I hired him. She knew I was really going to divorce her, so she went to her new home and wrote a confession and sent it to everybody we both know. I started receiving messages and phone calls the following week, but I didn't want to read or answer. Now I read some of the DMs, and it is what she said. Most of them want to comfort me. One of her cousins said it takes guts to confess, so I should give her a try. The following week, she tried to distract herself with work, but it seems everybody now knows she cheated. If you are unfaithful, in my country, people see you like an easy woman, so female coworkers don't talk to her, particularly flirty, and male coworkers are annoyingly friendly to her. She asked to be relocated, but it'll take months, so she quit her job the following Friday. She has a good amount of savings, we had our finances separated, and since I was a big earner, I paid for almost everything. Next day, she was looking for me, in her words, to beg to take her back. She came here, but when she saw I wasn't home, she went to my parents. My dad refused to speak to her, but my mom was sympathetic and told her that she's sorry about all this, but her son, me, is really hurt and asked them not to talk about her anymore. Jane understood, but then went to my brothers. He told her, "OP is not here, and frankly, I don't want to talk to you," and closed the door in her face. She came back to her new house very sad. All last week, she had been reflecting about her actions, and she's been really depressed, realizing how much damage she has done to our relationship, to her family, and mine. And all for the meaningless pleasure coming from a douchebag that, in her words,
believes vaccines are just a pharmacy scam and believes in astrology.
Yeah, Baldy is heavily tattooed. He has a Taurus sign on his arm. Sister-in-law suggested her to go to therapy. I don't blame her. If my brother were in the same situation, I'd be very disappointed, but I try to make him realize what is wrong with him. She finally went to therapy, and her therapist suggested writing me this letter and come clean to me. So she says all written in the letter is true. She swears on her life if I take her back, there will be no spouse in the history of humanity more grateful, loyal, and honest than her. She suggests total access to her social media, that I already had. She will always answer my calls no matter the situation, and to never have friends that I don't approve. There are more things about family and friends that I don't think it's important to share. Besides, it needs a lot of context. Finally, she pleads to meet me and let her apologize properly to my face. In her words,
Sorry doesn't start to describe what I'm feeling right now.
what do I think of this letter? The things I can confirm is that she hasn't contacted Baldy till that Monday when he was fired, and she confessed to family and friends. The rest could be partially true. Also, I'm sure it's been sweetened. For example, she does not mention when she called me jealous and immature. She does not mention letting Baldy do her raw, and she let him finish inside. She can give me all her passwords, but she lied to my face and gaslighted me for 9 months, according to her. And she was very good at it. Besides, I don't want to be her jailer. As I said, I will never trust her ever again. When I see her face, I'll also see Baldy's nape in front of her. I will not be her second option, nor will be a doormat. I haven't replied yet, but I think I'll see her next weekend. Marianne0601 from the community suggests, my mom had a coworker that constantly told her to cheat on my dad. We're talking over 10 years telling her that garbage. Dad drank. My mom hit a breaking point, and lots of men always made passes at her. What did she do when she finally got fed up? She came home and yelled at my father that it takes 2 people to make a marriage, and they were going to go to counseling. She already made the appointment. The coworker came up in counseling because she had told my dad to his face my mom should cheat on him. Mom's answer? The coworker is so unhappy with who she is that she sleeps with everyone to feel better. Why would she listen to someone that's broken and can't fix herself? My parents were married over 49 years when my dad died. Mom got asked out after he passed and still wouldn't date. Your wife's excuses are just that, excuses and not good ones. Move on and know that there is someone else out there for you. NoArt7321 says, you know what you need to do. She cheated on you for almost a year, and it took her being caught to realize how awful it was. Continue with your divorce. It sucks, but you'll find someone who wants to be with you wholeheartedly, not just till something better comes along. I'm really sorry this happened, but you will be okay in the long run. Good job seeking therapy and trying to find peace in all this. You are stronger than you know. Onwards and upwards, my friend. Good. Don't ever be a doormat. She made her choice long ago, and honestly, I don't think Flirty is responsible. Jane was obviously having these thoughts herself. There's no way someone who was confident in themselves and happy in life would make the conscious decision to cheat. Her words are meaningless. She's just upset she ruined her own life with her own choices. She could have had something beautiful. Update 3. Hi champions, I'm back. Thank you to all who contacted me. I've been silent because I needed time to reflect and I finally got it. Thank you very much. It's been some very rough days. For those who want to know, I did meet Jane. No, I didn't answer her letter. It was by a dumb mistake I made. I'll explain. A few days after my last post, I had an anxiety attack due to the stress I had bottled up. According to my therapist, my life had a 180 change and my mind hadn't had time to adjust. It was my first time having this kind of episodes. I thought I was having a stroke. Tachycardia, sweating, and panic clouded my judgment. My coworkers dialed to emergency and an ambulance came for me. If I hadn't been so scared, I'd have enjoyed the ride. I was so very sure at any moment I'd croak. The paramedic repeated to me, "Mister, you're having a panic attack. Everything is going to be fine." I tried to focus on his words, but I couldn't. My only thoughts were, I'm going to die. At the hospital, they sedated me and I started to feel better and sleepy. I could answer questions. The doctor asked me for my name, my age, what day it was. I could answer correctly until I passed out. When I woke up, guess who was next to me? Jane. I forgot to take out her name and number for my emergency contact. I was very confused due to the drugs. I smiled at her and said, "Jane?" She was sitting reading a book, and when she heard me, she jumped off her seat and approached me. She had tears in her eyes and told me,
Hello, my love. You really scared us.
That's when everything came back to me. I stopped smiling and asked, "What are you doing here?" I tried to sit, but my body felt numb and clumsy. She shushed me and told me,
Take it easy. No sudden movements. I'll get the doctor.
She kissed my forehead and left. I wanted to evade the kiss, but also my reflexes were numb. The kiss felt so familiar, but I know it has been more than a year since she kissed me with sincere love. While she was gone, I saw around me. I was in a big room with other 6 beds, 4 of them with patients. They all separated by curtains to have privacy. I also noticed I wasn't wearing my clothes, but a hospital robe. A few minutes later, she came back with a doctor. I had slept for 26 hours. The doctor explained all about the anxiety attack I suffered. He asked me if I'd stopped taking any meds, but Jane and I answered almost at the same time. I don't. He doesn't take any meds. I hate how well she knows me. The doctor told me the episode comes from a heavy stress or sudden change in my life, or both. I glanced at Jane, but she hid her eyes. He ordered some days off to reflect and get some therapy. I told him I'm already on therapy, but the doc said I needed to see a psychiatrist. My therapist is a thanatologist, psychologist, so she can't prescribe meds. He told me that I must be hungry, and the next day I'd be discharged, and he left. It was 8 p.m., so Jane had another hour until visiting hours were over, and she didn't look like she wanted to leave. It felt awkward, and that feeling leads me to chatter like an idiot. So I asked, "You said you scared us. Who are us?" She smiled. I bet she knew I couldn't resist to talk.
Your parents and me. They were here in the morning.
Did they leave?
Yes, they are expecting my call.
I'll talk to them tomorrow. You can leave. I want to sleep.
But your dinner is almost here.
When the doctor mentioned I must be hungry, my stomach grumbled. I didn't eat a thing for 26 hours. A few minutes later, a veteran nurse came with a tray on a cart. She asked Jane to manipulate the bed so I'd be in a sitting position to eat. I don't know what kind of face I made because Jane was amused and staring at me while the nurse arranged the tray in front of me on my bed. I'm an ex-glutton guy. She said,
God, I love you so much.
I glared at her again and asked her one more time to go home, but the nurse got really mad at me. According to her, Jane sponge-bathed me and even shaved me. I didn't notice until she told me. Finally, she asked Jane to feed me because I was still coming out of the meds. I told her we were getting divorced, but she said that's not her problem and I should be thanking her. She's been here to help, and I'm a very ungrateful person. Then she left. I refused her help and tried to eat even though my movements were very clumsy. I was making a mess with the soup and Jane begged me to let her help me. I felt like a spoiled brat making a tantrum. I just said fine and let her feed me. I've never felt so vulnerable before. She behaved very maternalistic and affectionate. I could have a close look at her. She wasn't wearing makeup. I saw more lines of expression, and also, she has crow's feet now. I felt better after I finished eating. She took the tray out of the room. She was in a good mood. I saw a patient in front of me, a man in his 50s, checking Jane when she went out and came back. I'm not surprised. She was wearing a coat and jeans, but she's very pretty. I didn't like the feeling of being in debt with her. When she sat down, I said, "Thanks for being here." She looked me in the eyes and smiled.
Anytime.
She tried to comb my hair and my forehead with her hand, but I could reject her this time. She looked hurt and I didn't say anything. She tried to grab my hand, but I removed it and she said,
Can we talk, please?
I remained silent. There are only 2 reasons for me to at least be cordial to her. The twins. They weren't baptized when they were toddlers, but after sister-in-law's ex went away, Jane and I supported sister-in-law and the twins. I love those 2 little rascals with all my heart. When we babysitted for them, I told Jane this would count as parenting training for when we had our own. That will never happen. Sister-in-law asked us to be their godparents, and I teared with emotion. They're the closest thing I have to a daughter and a son. I know Jane loves them too, and I don't want any drama near my godson and goddaughter, and I miss them so much. I haven't seen them since about a week before D-Day. Also, I haven't spoken to them because I was avoiding Jane. So I told her, okay, let's talk. In the condo. I'll contact you soon. She offered to take me home the next day when I get discharged. I told her no, I'll ask my parents to come for me, and I'll see her again in the condo. I wanted to talk to my parents. She noticed I was looking for my clothes. She opened a cabinet next to my bed and gave me my phone. I looked at her suspiciously and she gave me her guilty face again, meaning I am sure she snooped my phone and she admitted it. We didn't utter a word. That's the language we developed by being married 11 years. I don't care if she snooped. I have nothing to hide. I texted my parents and they called almost immediately. While I was talking to them, the same old nurse told Jane visiting hours were over. She wanted to say goodbye, but I ignored her. She whispered in my ear,
I know you keep your word. I'll wait for you to contact me. I love you.
She kissed my hair and left. I do keep my word. My father always told me, a man is worth as much as his word. I asked my parents if they knew what happened after I passed out. According to them, one of my coworkers showed up in the hospital to give information about my medical security. That's when the staff saw the emergency contact and they called Jane. Sister-in-law contacted them after the hospital called. When Jane came, she met my coworker and he left. Jane was waiting for the doctor assigned to me when my parents arrived. My dad was very cordial to her and asked what she knew. After a while waiting, a nurse called out, "Relatives of patient OP?" They stood up and the nurse guided them to the doctor. They've already tested my blood and told them I'm physically healthy. My anxiety attack stems from a psychological aspect. The doctor asked for Jane to see me because she's the emergency contact. She promised my parents to call them after seeing me. When she came back, she was surprised my parents were still there waiting. She gave them a ride to their home, while she told them she helped the nurses to undress me and put the hospital robe on. They didn't talk about our divorce. My parents thanked her for the ride and agreed to visit in the morning, and she'd switch in the afternoon around 1 p.m. Also, I called sister-in-law to thank her for calling my parents. Luckily, my godchildren were still up and I could speak to them. They were drawing get well soon cards for me. I promised to visit next weekend. Next day, it was Thursday. I was discharged from the hospital. My parents took me to my new home. A week before my panic attack, I started moving into my new place. I took my personal belongings. Everything else will stay in the condo. I'll rent it as fully furnished. Luckily, there are 3 universities nearby. I know there are students who would kill for a place like mine. I've already bought the basic furniture, a refrigerator, a stove. I have to learn to cook my meals from now on, a bed, a table with chairs and a desk, cleaning tools. I felt thrilled for the first time. I can call this little apartment my own place. I bought a nice warm jacket for Mr. P. I gave it to him, thanked for his help, and told him I'll visit from time to time. I didn't attend to my neighbor's dinner. I don't feel like dating yet. I think I need more therapy and do some more healing. At my new home, I reflected about my goals meeting Jane. I concluded I needed closure, understand her actions, make her understand there is no possible reconciliation, and end up things amicably. I'll divorce her and move on, but I don't want to lose my in-laws, my sweet and incoherent mother-in-law, my stubborn and strong sister-in-law, and her twins who I love. I don't want to miss their birthdays and future achievements. I want to be at least cordial to Jane. At job, my boss gave me 5 days off starting next week. I didn't want to stay in, so I went to the beach. It really helped me to be away from everything and rest. I realized I do love my wife, but the chubby one, the one who got excited when Pizza Fridays arrived, the one who I married 11 years ago, the one who supported my dreams and hopes, the one who hugged me when life got rough. I don't know what happened to her. Did vanity kill her? Horniness? No idea, but I loved my wife deeply, and the one who betrayed me is not my wife. Life Yogurt Closet 98 from the community says, the one who betrayed you was your wife. She became different after. The betrayal wasn't the sex, it was everything that led up to it the first time. I like how you are handling everything, OP, and I hope you confirmed Baldy being fired and hope you realize dating doesn't have to lead to marriage. You can date and end up platonic, but dating is just a way to practice getting to know whether a person can connect with you, and you have been out of the game for a while. Good luck, OP. Skiller Wolf 1234 says, hope you're doing better now, but it sounds like it. Your wife died when she started drooling and licking her lips over Baldy. She still thinks that you can be together, but you are not falling for her tricks. Wish you a good life and hope you update us yet again. I've been waiting for so long for this update. I'm so sorry, OP. This actually breaks my heart. It's really unfortunate how someone can change so much. I mean, there's one thing to be super happy about yourself and have that spill over into other aspects of your life, like your marriage, and having that blossom as well because of your own self-love and happiness. And there's another where You totally let it all get to your head, and you ruin the only beautiful thing in your life by cheating on someone who loves you more than life itself. Please know that you did nothing wrong, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Don't ever compare yourself to others, and don't let her behavior be any measurement of your value. Your ex doesn't deserve you. You're far too good a person. Try to focus on what this means for you. There's a space here now that's going to allow you to focus on you and your true value. Your ex's betrayal should stand in stark contrast to all that you are and all that you stand for. You were the one who kept constant integrity. That's beautiful. You were the one who took the high road and chose to be a good husband. That's beautiful. You live a life where you do not hurt others. That's beautiful. Do not allow yourself to think for one instant that you are less than beautiful. Do not allow negative thoughts to fool you into believing that you are less than. Update 4. Finally, I saw my godchildren. Sister-in-law took them to a park and I met them there. We 4 had a great day. Last weekend I met Jane. It was pretty much as I expected. Pleading and lots of crying on both sides. Surprisingly, she didn't blame me. She admitted it was all on her. When she snooped my phone, she saw I moved from the condo, my Reddit posts, so she knows everything I know, and more important to her, that I'm not dating. Before the meeting, I had another session with my therapist and discussed my anxiety attack and the talk I'll have with Jane. She told me the best way to move on is following the next steps. 1. Hit rock bottom. 2. Identify and take control of your emotions. 3. Focus on self-improvement. 4. Take a break, literally. 5. Be constructive. Most of you champions told me to keep in check my emotions. I'm sure I'll get angry, sad, anxious. I mustn't let it cloud my judgment. Also, I'm prone to have another anxiety episode. My therapist mentioned some techniques of breathing that really helped me. Let's move to last Saturday. I asked Mr. P to check if she's alone. She came on time, alone and stunning. New short dress, high heels, that she hates but she knows I like her wearing them. I won't lie, my heart skipped a beat. She smiled at me when I opened the door. Like she was so happy to see me. I remained calm and expressless. She opened her arms expecting a hug, but I made her a sign inviting her to come in. I offered tea. She loves chamomile tea. She accepted it and I made myself a coffee. We sat in front of each other, the table in the middle. I took out my phone and started recording. I tried to write word by word and using boxing references, but it's too long and crude. I gave up. I'll give you the summary. After some dumb chit-chat, she made me feel awkward again. She told me she's read my post and the waterworks began. She said the Jane who made me suffer is gone now. She says that the thing called affair fog is real and she can't believe what she did to me. I told her, then I think your letter has been sugar-coated. She said all she wrote is true, but I mentioned that I think it's BS, that Flirty brainwashed her. She's 10 times smarter than that. I demand her to tell me the truth. She went silent and I raised my voice. No, Jane, you are not allowed to be silent again. I had to breathe because I was getting angry. You have to come clean to me right now. I know more than what you wrote in your letter. Sadly, she admitted she wanted to F Baldy. She admitted she loved the attention she was receiving, and when she saw Baldy devouring her with his eyes, she felt thrilled and aroused. She confessed it began before the elliptical machines incident. About a week before, when I was changing clothes in the showers and she was waiting for me outside, Baldy chatted with her, and he was flirty, and she couldn't believe he'd come on to her. She cried when she told me this. I asked, is this what it takes for you to throw your morals and ethics away? A strong body and a bird brain? From that moment, I refer to Baldy as bird brain. She said she was really stupid and selfish and that she took me for granted, but she assures me that this was only physical, never emotional. She swears she never said to him, I love you, and I am the only owner of her heart and her body. I breathed and regained some composure. I told her, it's been about 3 months since we had sex, and the last time I could tell you weren't into it. I bet you were longing for bird brain. She says that's not true because according to her, she can't bear a life without me. I said, I don't believe you. You had a good income. You could easily sustain a decent life with bird brain. She repeated she doesn't love him and he was just a toy. I called BS one more time and reminded her of what I saw in the mall. I'm gonna copy this part. I saw you at the mall with him, hugging, kissing, like when we were engaged. She was fidgeting. I'm so sorry. Tell me the truth. You do love him. She shook her head. I liked how people stared at us, but I don't love him. Seems like you were the perfect couple, which would never have happened with us, right? You loved the attention, which you would never have with a person like me. Please don't say that. Why not? It's true. It is. I don't perceive myself as an attractive man. I'm the kind of guy anybody wouldn't look twice. No, you're the man of my dreams. I only want to be with you. If you love me so much, then why cheating? What did he give you I didn't? She couldn't answer the question. I repeated it, and she covered her face with her hands and finally admitted she considered Birdbrain's body more attractive than mine. Another jab. It was something I expected, but dang, it hurt.
I swear, I had a moment of weakness and I hate myself for that.
One moment? I yelled again. That moment lasted 9 months. Crying again. It went out of control. 9 months. 9 effing months of disrespect and lies. Tell me how I could trust you ever again. Was Birdbrain the only one? What will happen when the next douchebag steps in front of you? You were very good at lying and hiding your cheating. Now she looked desperate.
I'm telling you the truth. I know you have no reason to believe me, but I've reflected. I've seen my life without you and I am so sorry. I'm sorry I cheated on you. I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry your family hates me. But most of all, I am so ashamed I hurt you. I beg for your forgiveness. I'm here to come clean and fix things so we could be together again.
A lot of tears fell from her face. Before D-Day, I'd give an arm to ease those tears. Today, I only felt anger. I think you're not getting it. I can no longer trust you. I can't be your husband anymore. There's no way I can forget you in that room with him. You texted him the very same day I told you I was going to my parents, and you were ready to get rid of me. My God, Jane. Half an hour after I left, he was inside you and raw, and you even let him finish inside. Why? By this moment, I was crying too, and I forced her to answer. She looked defeated. She said it made Birdbrain more excited and she liked it. And since she can't get pregnant, she thought it didn't matter. I swallowed saliva because I felt a huge knot in my throat. With trembling voice, I asked, "What else?" I was fishing for more information. I didn't expect to hear what was coming. Jane couldn't see me in the eyes. She looked down and said,
He made me beg him to finish inside.
This was an uppercut to me. I couldn't speak for several minutes. This is when I hit rock bottom. We both cried, and Jane only said,
Forgive me, forgive me.
She tried to grab my hand, but I removed it. Then she told me the first time Birdbrain finished inside was the first time she denied intimacy to me. She felt dirty and didn't want me to be tainted. I felt disgusted. I almost threw up. She swears that's when Birdbrain became more demanding and threatened to come and tell me everything because he thinks Jane belongs to him. I couldn't utter a word. I could still feel the knot in my throat. I wiped her tears with my sleeve. I used our sign language to tell her that her makeup was running. She went to the bathroom and I couldn't catch my breath to calm down a little. While she was away, I could confirm there was no way I'd take her back. I'm so disgusted. I feel like I was gutted out. But also I knew I needed to know this. I needed to know how deep the rabbit hole goes. I don't want to carry this anger and confusion anymore. When she came back from the bathroom, I told her I can't go on. I need space and time. She said she understood. Before she left, she asked me if I will ever forgive her. I told her I don't know, but I appreciate her honesty. She hugged me. I didn't return the hug. She cried, and I could feel her tears wetting my neck. She swore in the name of my late father-in-law, who was her hero, she will never cheat on me ever again, and that she has gone no contact with Birdbrain, she called him Birdbrain herself, and to devote her life to us, to our marriage. She even proposed to gain weight again so I'd be sure she'd committed to me. I told her she's saying nonsenses. We both made a big effort to lose weight. But she says therapy made her realize she's a narcissist and an attention junkie. I gave her a key copy of the condo to get all her stuff. She finally left. I thought I'd cry a lot, but strangely I had a feeling of relief. It feels like my mind is telling me, now you can move on. I laid down and reflected a lot. I even skipped a meal. In my mind, I finally accepted the love of my life is gone. I guess I got my closure. It must have taken immense strength to confront Jane and demand the truth, especially when faced with such painful revelations, OP. You showed incredible courage in facing the reality of the situation head on, even when it felt like the ground was crumbling beneath your feet. It's understandable that you're feeling a mix of emotions right now, anger, sadness, confusion. But through it all, you've demonstrated remarkable resilience and self-awareness. You've taken control of your emotions, even in the face of overwhelming pain, and you're determined to focus on self-improvement and healing. Your therapist's advice about hitting rock bottom and taking control of your emotions seems incredibly wise. By acknowledging your feelings and allowing yourself to experience them fully, you're taking an important step toward healing and moving forward. And while the road ahead may still be challenging, it's clear that you're committed to rebuilding your life on your own terms. It's okay to feel relief amidst the pain, to recognize that this meeting with Jane has brought you one step closer to closure. Update 5. Hi again, champions. Thank you all for your DMs and comments asking for an update. Sorry to tell you depression has kicked in. Let me walk you through. Several things have happened in the last months. But today, Friday 17th, my divorce is complete. I'm a single man again. First, let's go back to October 2022. At last, I had a good peek of my life as a single man. I've been going to my parents' house to learn to cook. I like cooking a lot. Last weekend, I made bread myself. It was kind of ugly, but delicious. I'll practice a lot to bake a cake for my godchildren for their birthday next March. Also, I noticed I'm very intolerant towards cheating topics. Have you seen the sitcom The Office? It used to crack me up, but now I saw the cheating and gaslighting, it stopped being funny to me, even if they try to hide it as romance. I can't tolerate it. I bet none of the writers have been cheated on. I spoke to my attorney. He mentioned Birdbrain's sue proceeded, and that reminded me I wanted to have a chat with Frank. Long story short, I met with Frank and he told me Birdbrain was fired the same Monday I met him. And yes, he was living illegally at Frank's father's house. So Birdbrain was his employee for years. Frank made a civic suit for trespassing, meaning he can't be near Frank or any of his properties for the next 5 years. If he does, the cops will be involved. I asked if Jane would be sued too, but he said Birdbrain confessed that she was unaware of the situation and that she just went to the house to exercise with his guidance. They used the repair equipment to exercise. Frank assumed Jane and I were still together, and he felt he owed me that. Frank is very cordial and friendly. He was cheated on in his youth, so he has zero tolerance on the topic. He gave me something. He said, "You're going to love this." He showed me his phone. It was a soundless video from one of his CCTV cameras. It took me a minute to recognize it was showing the gym's cafeteria. All tables are empty but one. There's a man sitting with his back to the camera. Then a huge muscular back appears and I recognize Harry walking towards the man. I ask, "Is that?" Frank nods and I continue watching. Harry puts his hand on Birdbrain's shoulder. Then Birdbrain covers his face with his hands. I can tell they are chatting, and finally both men walk towards the camera and Birdbrain's face can be seen clearly for a few seconds. Sad expression, red eyes, and tears on his cheeks. The video ends when they are out of the screen. We both laughed. I said I'm going to put this video on my screensaver. It was taken the day before Birdbrain was fired. I've gone to my first session with the psychiatrist. He said I have signs of depression due to my anxiety combined with my insecurities, so he prescribed a soft antidepressant pill daily until next season. At the time, I didn't feel any different. Also, I started taking kickboxing lessons. My coach told me I have good reflexes, but I have a long way to go. Jane took all her stuff from the condo. She also took our marriage big picture. My brother's friend gave me a good idea. I'll sacrifice the living room to make another bedroom and make the dining room and kitchen a common area, so it will have 3 bedrooms. I hired a guy to take care of it. My attorney informed me Jane has her own attorney and he's requested a meeting. I asked what I have to do and he told me to play along. He'll do all the talking, I just have to agree. Unless my lawyer thinks they make an unreasonable request, he'll ask for a timeout to discuss it. The following week, the meeting took place at Jane's attorney's office. Jane was stunning and very quiet. She was trying to steal glances from me. After the proper introductions, her attorney, male 50-ish, mentioned since I've already refused to pay alimony, the issue concerning to her client won't be mentioned. Jane's adultery. My attorney said that that's fine if it is listed for the record, which her attorney reluctantly agreed. Then they proceeded to split our assets, which was pretty fast because I don't want anything and Jane said she has taken everything she treasures. Besides, we didn't have expensive stuff. Finally, her attorney asked for 5 sessions of marriage counseling and added, if I agree and attend with an open mind and honesty, his client guarantees a smooth divorce. My attorney reduced them to 3 and no contact between sessions. I made a worry face to my attorney and he kicked my foot under the table, meaning to play along. I saw Jane and she was making a face I've seen when she really wants me to do something, so I made a face of, okay, you win, and she smiled. Marriage language again. Later, I asked my attorney if marriage counseling is necessary. He said it is, because the judge who will be assigned to our case may agree with Jane since she's making the attempt to reconcile while I'm not. Or the judge may agree with me and ignore it. So attending the marriage counseling is a necessary risk. I said she was the one who cheated. He told me I've already asked for a compensation and the judge will overlook her adultery. The judge has the power to divorce us right there, or she may order more counseling and or a period of reconciliation. It's like flipping a coin. Moving on to mid-October, we attended to the first session. We sat on big sofas, one in front of the other, and in the middle the counselor. Let's call her Dolores. After hearing all the background and the main point of our divorce, she asked both of us what we expect. I said I just want to be amicable, but still want a divorce, and Jane said she wants to reconcile. She asked for Jane's opinion about my goal, and she said she doesn't want a divorce. She has never stopped loving me. I was about to argue, but the counselor asked me not to interrupt. Then she asked me about Jane's goal. I said, I don't think we can reconcile because I don't trust her anymore, and I think she's in love with the affair partner. This time, Jane wanted to say something, but the counselor asked Jane not to interrupt. Then asked me why I think that. I mentioned the gaslighting, how she was giggling the day before D-Day, and how eager she was to get rid of me on D-Day. It was Jane's turn to talk. She swears she does not love Birdbrain. She has never told him I love you because she doesn't. She barely spoke to him during the day, even though he was constantly sending messages to her. She assures me she doesn't know important stuff like his birthday, but she confessed she liked the thrill, the secrecy, the staring from other people. She wanted to show me from her phone she wasn't talking to Birdbrain that night. I said her phone is useless because she used to delete conversations. Dolores mentioned there are apps that can recover deleted messages. I said, "Oh yeah?" But Jane was silent, and I could see she was thinking very fast. Dolores and I stared at her, and she was making nervous movements. I said, "Will you give me your phone?" Jane looked like she wanted to argue but kept silent. I said, "You are still in contact with him, aren't you?" Jane almost screamed, "No, I swear, but..." She was hesitant about giving me her phone, and finally she gave it to me and said, "Please, remember that Jane, who texted, is not me anymore." I said, "What does that mean?" "I beg you, don't make me say it. I was in the fog." I asked Dolores about this affair fog. She told me from her experience it looks like the judgment is clouded by the excitement and focus on the new relationship, so the subject's mind can't comprehend or just ignores the consequences of their actions. It varies a lot from person to person. Jane told me, "OP, I'm deeply sorry for all I texted to him. Now I can't understand why I was so disrespectful to you." At that moment, I wasn't sure I wanted to know what she meant. If she trashed me like Birdbrain did, it would be a massive blow to me. I confided her everything about me. Next, Dolores asked me what it takes for me to reconcile. I told her there are two major obstacles I don't see how to overcome. Number one, she lied for a long time and I can't trust her anymore. Number two, I can't be intimate with her ever again since she gave her body to another man. This made Jane tear. She says it was purely physical, like using a dildo. Besides, she swears Birdbrain wasn't very impressive at all. I reminded her my reason number one. She insisted, almost desperate. "OP, I have never made love to him. You are the only one." I just felt angry and yelled back, "And that's why you didn't touch me for the last months?" Dolores asked Jane her reasoning to cheat on me. She spoke about her being the chubby girl, bullied and ignored. She was very lonely when she was a teenager. At university, she was friends with some girls, but they tend to leave her behind. If it weren't for her great grades, they would have completely ignored her. Then we met, and it was like finding a twin soul. When she lost weight, all her fat went to very strategic places that made her look voluptuous. At first, it was scary when men stared at her, but when Flirty and her friends told her she's hot and beautiful and that she must be confident of herself, that's when she started enjoying the attention and her ego went to the clouds when she saw Birdbrain staring at her too. She told me, "You don't know how it feels to be ugly." I told her I do. I lost count of the rejections and friend zoning. At jobs, female colleagues made a list of handsome male colleagues, and I didn't fit in. I'm still unattractive, and I didn't care because I had a person who loved me, but that person traded me for a better-looking guy. That sentence made her tear again. I belong to an ethnicity very bullied in my country, associated to poverty and ugliness. I had very hurtful nicknames, and according to my therapist, that's what made me gain weight, like an armor to protect my wounded ego. Dolores asked me if I can see she's remorseful. I said I can tell she is, but just because she's been caught, not for her cheating. Jane said she knows she screwed up. That's why she confessed to all the people we both know. Dolores was especially interested in this confession and asked Jane why she confessed to people unaware of our marital problems. She said she knew she deserved a punishment. It wasn't enough my anger and cold shoulder. Many people called her and berated her. She listened to every word, every insult, and every swearing. Sister-in-law can confirm she did. She has lost friendships, and mostly my relatives have disowned her. But she gladly took that step if it would help her reconcile with me. I was out of words. Dolores told me most unfaithful people tend to hide their cheating as a negation mechanism, but Jane didn't. She owned her mistake. That's something I should give her credit for. I asked her what would have happened if I still were unaware, if today I were still clueless. She said Birdbrain was getting very aggressive, and he was demanding either he or she tells me about the affair. He used to scare her, saying something would happen to me, and she was afraid what he would do. I scoffed. In her own words, "I think you finding out was the best thing that could happen. It made me react and realize how screwed up I was." I told her I know Birdbrain is in love with her, and she already knew. That's why he hates me and used to trash me, and he was demanding to disrespect me in my house. He knew if I was in the picture, Jane will never be his. Dolores asked me, "What does your wife win asking for this marriage counseling? If she's so in love with Birdbrain, wouldn't she be eager to divorce you sooner? Why is she making all this effort?" I must remind you, she has already lost her acquaintance's respect. I couldn't answer. I know I'm not her meal ticket. She had a very decent job and she can get another one easily. She's not homeless nor disowned from her sister. Then I said, "For the sake of the argument, let's say we reconcile and we live together again. What would happen then? I'd doubt everything she tells me. Every time I'm not looking, I'd suspect. It'd be torture for me." Jane said, "I know it would be difficult, but I'd never give you reasons to doubt me." I responded, "You wouldn't for now, But what about in 2 years, when the dust settles? When I have signs of trusting you again and another douchebag catches your eye and stares at you? Jane kneeled in front of me, looking in the eyes.
I'd never hurt you again. The two most devastating experiences I recently had were when I received the divorcing papers and thinking you may have been badly injured when they called me from the hospital. If you give me another chance, I'll always remember these 2 times I thought I lost you and devote my life to making us happy.
I was out of words again, so I just scoffed again. By the time the session was over. At home, I checked Jane's phone. I noticed Birdbrain is still blocked. I unblocked him, and a lot of messages came. Babe, are you okay? Babe, call me. Babe, I'll go to your house to check on you unless you call me first. Babe, where are you? I bought an app to recover deleted messages. I was very nervous. I got most of the earlier messages back. The older ones were difficult, so I got a few of them. I was expecting she being disrespectful to me, but she tries not to mention me. I found some sexting conversations, but knowing Jane, she didn't enjoy it. Birdbrain uses rude words a lot, and Jane hates that. He called her babe and some other ridiculous pet names I didn't even dare to use when we were in the honeymoon phase. Lots of I love yous from him, but I didn't find a single one from Jane. I felt some relief and then punched myself because I shouldn't feel that. Also, as Jane said, Birdbrain used to mock me. He called me fatty, pathetic, loser, and little girl. Whenever he mentions me, Jane just said, I don't want to talk about my husband. In the most recent messages, I can tell whenever she didn't play along, Birdbrain got angry, and he told her he was on his way to my job to tell me everything while she begged not to. Obviously, it was just a bluff. He doesn't know where I work. I looked for the messages at D-Day -1, and she didn't text him. No call records either. I snooped some more and saw she was messaging to a chat group with Flirty and 2 other girls that night. They're hilarious. Some of their comments made me chuckle. At D-Day +1, Jane was kicked out of the group. The next marriage counseling session, it was related to our past. Dolores asked how we met. It was at the university. We both were in the library doing homework. I had the last copy of a certain book. Jane asked me for it because she had to go home early, but I also had to go to my job. So we both needed it, and I told her we can photocopy it. We were in different careers, but we had the same teacher, so the assignment was the same. We chatted while we were in line. We hit it on, and I noticed how beautiful, intelligent, and kind she is. She just thought I was a good person. I lent her the book, and I got the photocopies. That way she had to return the book to me, and we could chat again. I arrived late at work, but I felt it was totally worth it. We were friendly until I invited her out, but she turned me down. From there, I just greeted her in the hallways like a friend, but I didn't make a move on her. Suddenly, a week later, she invited me out. I babbled a yes, and we started dating. Next, Dolores asked what made us fall in love with each other. In my case, it was when I took Jane to eat Japanese food for the first time. She was clumsily trying to eat using the chopsticks until she had enough and said, F this, and pierced the meat and ate it that way. I've never heard her cursing before, so it made me laugh, and I said, I love you, for the first time. Jane took longer, but she says it was a trip we both took. She knew it was going to be our first time being intimate, but she had cold feet because she thought it would disappoint her father. Also, she was scared. So thought I would get mad and didn't tell me. That night, she started crying and apologized to me. I told her I'm not mad, and if she didn't feel ready, I understand. I want her to trust me and feel comfortable with me. We cuddled and slept. She realized she felt secure with me, and that was the first time she told me the L word. That session, I didn't get angry or yelled, and I had a nice time remembering the good old times. I gave Jane her phone back. I told her I believe her she's not in love with Birdbrain. She took her phone, smiled at me, and left without a word. She really is respecting my no contact request. The following Sunday, one of my cousins, let's call her Karen, threw a Halloween party at a bar, and she invited me. No disguises were required, so I groomed and attended to the party alone. Karen was one of the many people who received Jane's confession. She wrote her that she'll introduce me a very hot date. So she introduced me to a friend of hers, a woman in her late 20s, very attractive. Let's call her Princess. I greeted her, and then I saw it. She made a face I've seen several times, like if I had a giant booger dripping from my nose. A face of disgust and disappointment. I usually don't care about it, but because I had my beautiful wife. At that time, I was eager to know how much I've improved myself. Seems none since 18 years ago when I met Jane. She never gave me that look. She always looked happy to see me, and that's why I fell fast and hard for her. Immediately, my defense mechanism acted, and I wanted to keep my distance from Princess. But Karen sat us in a booth, and I tried very clumsily to chat, but she barely responded. She took her phone out and texted while I tried to maintain conversation. Another guy came and told her, Here you are. I didn't know you were coming. Want to dance? She looked at me and said, You don't mind, right? I said, Go and have fun. I saw them getting lost in the crowd while I kept thinking, So he didn't know she was here, but Still, he was looking for her. I bet she texted him.
Come and save me from this creep.
I looked for Karen. It took me some minutes to find her. She was talking to Princess. Before they noticed me, I clearly heard her saying, "You said he's a catch." "He is." And Karen saw me. They immediately got quiet. I said I'm not feeling well and I'm going home. I told Princess, sorry for not meeting your expectations. She shrugged. Karen had daggers in her eyes. When I got home, I thought she was just a materialistic witch, but she moved some dark old feelings from my youth. I couldn't stop them from coming for me. I'll be alone from now on, childless, wifeless. I'm a very unattractive man. It will be very hard for me to build another relationship. I'm almost 45 and alone, a total loser. I had another anxiety attack. My therapist told me what to do. I got under my sheets, covered from head to toes. I was crying, trembling, and sobbing. I didn't know for how long until I woke up very early in the morning. My pillow was wet because of my tears and sweat. My head hurt, and I sat on my bed staring at the floor for almost an hour, lost in my dark thoughts until my alarm rang. It was time to get up, but I didn't. I felt out of energy. I didn't go to the gym. I sat on the shower floor to sob, and I went to work. One of my close colleagues, same guy who lent me his car, noticed I was very quiet and slow. He told me I looked sad, and I finally understood depression had kicked in. The following day, I received some texts from Karen apologizing for her friend. I ignored it and tried to go to the gym, but I felt like my energy was cut in half or less. I was tired very quickly. I didn't complete my session and went home. The following Tuesday, I took my godchildren trick-or-treating with sister-in-law. In Mexico, we do this on November 1st and 2nd. I cheered a bit, but when I got home, I fell down again. The third and final session was 3 days after Karen's party. I arrived and tried to make a good face, but I failed. It took some minutes to Jane to notice I was not the same. She asked me if I was okay. I faked a smile and said I'm fine, but she stared at me and I couldn't see her in the eyes, and she asked Dolores if we can reschedule because OP is not well. I insisted I'm fine, but Jane said,
That's a lie. I can tell you're not fine.
Dolores asked me what I am feeling. I didn't want to look weak in front of Jane, but then she said,
He's sad.
I looked at her, surprised. She sat next to me and asked,
What's wrong?
She grabbed my hand, and this time I didn't reject her. I just saw her big, beautiful brown eyes scanning my soul. I'm ashamed to admit I started to sob. I put my elbows on my knees and teared a bit. Jane caressed my back, and I regained some composure. My nose was running and my eyes were red. I went to the restroom and wet my face. When I returned and sat next to Jane, I saw she had tears on her face, and Dolores asked me the reason of my sadness. Jane said, with trembling voice, it was her fault. I agreed to be honest and told her it's not because of her. My insecurities are giving me a rough time. Jane stopped and grabbed my face with both of her hands and placed it in front of hers, nose to nose. She said,
OP, I really hate when you say you're unattractive.
Yeah, I've whined to her about this in the past, especially when I felt I was losing her. Then she started numbering the things she liked about me. She also added,
When I undressed you at the hospital and you were only in your underwear, the nurses and I thought, hubba hubba.
That's the best translation I could find. That made me chuckle and I did feel better.
I can see you're in better shape than I remember.
I did lose another 4 kilograms when all this drama started, but also I lost some muscle due to lack of sleep and appetite. I glanced at Dolores. She was silent the whole time, staring at us. She said, You both still can work on a new marriage. Your previous marriage is done, but a new concept could work for both of you. This is my advice if you want to take it. Jane loved the idea. I said I'm not sure about that, and I'll discuss it with my lawyer and my therapist. The rest of the session we talked about our life so far individually. I didn't know Jane got another job in a different company doing the same thing she did in the previous one, and she's still on therapy. I mentioned I'm learning to cook and trying to focus on my mental health. She asked us the good points and bad points of being separated. I mentioned I am busier and it helps me to go on. I didn't mention sometimes I miss my wife, but Jane did. She said she hates being alone and not in her house with her husband, who she loves dearly, and she pressed my hand. I hadn't noticed we were sitting next to each other, and she was still holding my hand. I'm sorry to admit in the moment of darkness, her warm touch felt like a pure ray of light. The session was over. Dolores signed the documents given by our attorneys. We walked together and I took her to her car, still unsure about my feelings to her. She asked me if the no contact request is over. I told her I guess. Then she asked me if we can have a date for my birthday, mids of November. When she saw my face of worrying, she hurried to say it was only a dinner. She just wants to chat like the good old times. I agreed, but asked for no kisses and no excessive touching. We agreed to meet 2 weeks later, one day before my birthday. Meanwhile, I asked her for no contact again. Although a part of moving on is forgiving, do you think it might be a mistake to allow your ex to get close to you again and let her in? Do you think you might be taking a few steps backwards by going on a date with her, OP? She's been desperate to get back together with you, and by doing this, she might try to wiggle her way back in. Your journey reflects the complexities of human relationships, the struggles with trust and forgiveness, and the profound impact of past traumas on our present selves. It's clear that you've been grappling with deep-seated insecurities and grappling with the aftermath of betrayal, all while trying to navigate the path forward. Your honesty about your struggles with self-image and the scars of past rejections resonates deeply. It's a reminder that our inner wounds can linger far beyond the moments that inflicted them, shaping our perceptions and influencing our actions in ways we may not always fully comprehend. Just be careful, OP. You've made so much progress. Don't let her ruin it. Update 6. Hi, champions. I'm back with the final update. I appreciate everyone in here. It is because of you that today I have high hopes in my future. Thanks to all of you anonymous strangers who dedicate time for all the hurt souls and lead them to heal. This kind of club sucks, but in the shared pain we find truly kind individuals who give us a hand just because they've met the same pain. Thank you very much. After meeting Jane and scheduled a date for our date, I was very confused about my feelings. I had to read my own testimony to remind myself what she did to me, but it was like a different person wrote it. I myself was thinking her cheating was not so bad. Also, she's remorseful. I saw again her video with Bird Brain. I wanted to get angry, but it just felt empty. I turned to some of you guys to give me advice through DMs and learned that also exists something called the reconciliation fog. This makes us do the pick-me dance to forgive cheaters and excuse their actions, my case. I was deep into this fog due to my depression and low self-esteem. Fortunately, I had 2 weeks before my date with Jane. First, I had a meeting with my attorney. He said it was a bad idea, that I should only meet with both attorneys present. I told him it was important to me. It was going to be my litmus test. He said, "What if she's recording you and presents it as evidence of reconciliation?" I told him I'm still not sure what I wanted to do. That's why I need to see what happens. He shrugged and said, "You won't be the first one having cold feet, but if you still want to divorce, you need to evade any reconciliation topic and no signs of affection." I told him I understood. In the first week, I had an appointment with my therapist and my psychiatrist. My therapist suggested adopting a pet. It can help me to relieve my depression. I love the idea because animals tend to like me for some reason. So, I went to a shelter and adopted a dog. She's so joyful and intelligent. Her name is Samantha. She's a mixed breed, medium size. I went nuts buying things for her. Toys, a leash, a collar with her name, a nice warm bed. She did help to cheer me up. My godchildren love her. My psychiatrist doubled my dose of antidepressants and prescribed a drug to ease compulsive thoughts. My parents' psychiatrist and therapist gave me the same advice. In short words, do what will make you happy. But I didn't know what would make me happy at the end. I needed something or someone that would smack me back to reality. It came from the last person I'd think about. I didn't attend to my last 3 kickboxing classes since Karen's Halloween party. My coach, Abraham, male 40-ish, was pissed at me. He met me at the showers to scold me when I saw I was down and asked, "Is everything all right?" I said, "Not really." I started telling him about my depression. He has a son currently dealing with the same and told me to meet him for some beers. So after class, we went to a bar close to the gym, and I told him about Jane and Bird Brain. He was absolutely disgusted and told me basically everything you all champions have. I spoke about my feelings, and he shut me down and said, "Speak your mind." I was unsure of what to say, and he repeated, "What is on your mind? I don't care about feelings. Tell me what you want." I opened my mouth like a fish out of the water, but didn't answer. He seemed exasperated about me and added, "You really need to man up." He told me to come earlier to the gym the following day. He'd pay for the drinks and told me, "You're going to be born again." The next day I arrived 1 hour earlier. Abraham was expecting me. He gave me sparring gear and told me to meet him at the ring. I have never sparred before. I sometimes practiced using a sandbag, but that was it. Abraham told me to punch him. I threw a punch and he almost laughed at me. He said, "Is that all you got?" I felt I was blushing. There were some other students watching us, and I'm the oldest person there. I tried again and Abraham easily blocked me and pushed me back. I tripped and fell on my butt and he said, "Your determination is weak." He helped me to stand up and repeated, "Man up." I heard somebody chuckling and I felt mad. I took it more seriously and tried again and again and again, but I wasn't able to hit Abraham once. I know he was going easy on me. I was tired and he told me to come the following day to repeat. He added, "You're not giving your all. Show yourself what you can do." That comment was glued to my mind all day. The following session, Abraham asked some boy to record the sparring using my phone. Once more, I didn't connect a single hit. Finally, we watched the video while he gave me his opinion. My movements were clumsy, slow, and weak. I could protect myself from some of his blows, but my reactions looked like I was panicking. I felt embarrassed just watching myself. Abraham told me to man up and I must do whatever it takes to punch him at least once. I admitted to myself I wasn't putting enough effort to kickboxing. I started watching videos online. I decided to add an extra hour to my training. At night I was watching the sparring video, studying my movements and thinking what I should do differently. I cleared my study to make space for my shadow sparring. I was so obsessed about showing Abraham my determination that I absolutely forgot about my problems on my date with Jane. By the 5th session, I was able to predict some of his movements, but still was slow. I noticed the people watching were incrementing. Later, somebody told me there was a bet going. By the 7th day, the miracle happened. I saw his fist moving towards my chest, and I knew what to do. It was just 1 second. My body reacted with precision and speed. I punched him in the ribs. I was very glad, but then I saw something black, and the next thing I noticed is my face touching the floor and Abraham shouting, "Give him some room." I turned my body up. I saw that everyone was on the ring, and Abraham kneeled next to me and told me not to move. Somebody came with a first aid kit. My nose was bleeding. I was dizzy and asked, "What happened?" Everybody started talking at the same time. They were excited and joyful. Abraham was apologetic and told me, "You did it, man." Sorry, it was a reflex. The kid who usually takes video of us showed the moment I punched him. Abraham reacted and punched me back on the face, and I passed out for about 5 seconds. It took me 1 week to connect a single punch on him. I joined the kids and shouted, "Hell yeah!" I was euphoric. Somebody helped me to stand up while I felt some palms on my back. I was smiling, and Abraham asked, "I'll repeat my question. What do you want?" I yelled, "I want to be stronger. I want to be the best version of myself." "What about your wife?" I made an angry face. "She betrayed me. She doesn't deserve me." He smiled and raised my hand like if I had won the match. We all yelled. I know it was just a punch. I finally connected. But Abraham knew I needed this victory more than any therapy, medication, or advice because since then my confusion, sadness, doubts all disappeared. Welcome to the last stage of acceptance. The following days I put much more effort into my training, and I took a series of decisions the old me would think more than once or asked for Jane's opinion. I'll change my look, my car, I'll do things I didn't do because of fear, learning to dance, to play a musical instrument, and I'll have my first tattoo. Jane texted me the day before our date. I told her the place and time and she added, "Don't be late." I felt so much confidence about myself. We met at her favorite restaurant at lunchtime. She was breathtaking as always. I was kind of plain. Jacket, t-shirt, jeans, and hikers. I think she felt very confident in herself. I just smirked and started recording with my phone. We were amicable, my emotions in check. I didn't feel any anger or rage like last time we met. It felt like when you speak to an old friend and everything is purely platonic, at least from my side. She asked about my sadness. I told her I feel so much better now, which surprised her. She asked what triggered my insecurities, and I told her all about princess drama. She was mad as my cousin Karen was. She mentioned she will never be ready to see me with another partner. I told her I'm mending a messy relationship with my crazy wife. I referred to her as a third person in the past. She caught what I meant. A very smart idea from one of you champions. Then she told me, "She sounds like a slut. You should get away from her." We laughed. God, how I missed these conversations with her. Before Bird Brain, we could chat for hours. Then she told me one of my coworkers contacted her and asked her out. I laughed. I've seen that weasel secretly staring at attractive women or girls. I wouldn't be surprised if he has stared at Jane. She turned him down and he got mad. I asked about Flirty. "Do you know what's her problem with me?" She says she doesn't know, but her theory is that she dislikes my ethnicity and she can't stand I have better studies and salary than hers. I'm at least 2 levels above her. Also, Jane discovered Flirty is dating, seriously, 2 guys, whatever that means. We talked about Bird Brain. He called Jane from another number to convince her to run away with him. She swore she didn't speak, she just listened and cut the call eventually. He's gone to another state. I said some nasty things about him. She was amazed how liar he is and completely agreed with me that he's a loser douchebag. She asked about the time he and I met. She read it in my post. I told her that seeing him so apologetic gave me confidence. Also, I was pissed, so it was easy for me to threaten him. She pleaded me to repeat the scene, and I did. I told her exactly as I recall what I said and how I said it. She had her eyes opened wide, and she wet her freaking lips. She told me she had goosebumps. She has never seen me so aggressive before. Also, she repeated she liked me more. Then she got all flirty with me and asked if I wanted to go stuffing the muffin. Our euphemism for being intimate, again, closest translation. This was it, the moment I was waiting for. Jane was bringing her face closer to kiss me. I didn't have the time to think, but I felt it again, the anger and resentment. My body reacted and pulled my face away. I made an angry face and told her in a deep voice that stopped her immediately. No. She apologized profusely. I smiled again and told her that we should leave. It was late and I must walk Sammy. I paid for the meal. She didn't bring her car and asked me to take her to my home. I guess she was sure we were going to spend the night together. I was reluctant, but I wanted to push myself into the situation just to say no again. When we were in front of my apartment, we could hear Samantha whining and scratching the door. Before I entered, Jane got all serious and said, "OP, will you ever forgive your wife?" I already did. Then why won't you take her back? Because I will never forget what she did, and I can't trust her. She made a sad face, but then asked, What about me? Would you take me instead? I smiled and said, What are you talking about? We're friends. She looked offended. Are you friend-zoning me? I guess so, dude, and punched her softly on the shoulder. I thought she would look even more offended, but instead, her eyes sparkled and had a big smile. You finally touched me. That was a surprise for me. Since D-Day, I haven't voluntarily touched her. She took a step towards me. Can I hug you, please? Sure. She practically jumped on me. It felt so familiar, her voluptuous body that strangely fits perfectly between my arms and chest, her perfume and her long wavy hair tickling my nose. I hugged her back and she pleaded, Let's get back together. I told her, No, Jane. We were going to divorce. She broke the hug and stared at my face. I guess she thought I was joking, but I wasn't. She didn't take it well. She was sure we were going to reconcile and make a scene in front of my apartment. I tried to calm her down, but she was protesting and yelling. She hugged me tight, like if I was about to disappear. She was begging and telling me she has changed. She will make me happy, and she would do anything for me. And the tears started. I felt sad for her. I don't hate Jane. She was my best and only friend for so long, and we both have amazing memories together. But she made a big mistake, and as a consequence, I fell out of love. I saw a nosy neighbor peeking from his apartment, and I guided Jane inside my house. Sammy was curious about her. I didn't have any tea to offer, so I warmed some soy milk while Jane sobbed and petted Sammy. I sat in front of her. The milk helped her to calm. She asked me, Do you still love me? Just as the good friend you have been to me all these years. Not as a partner, not anymore. She yelled, Why not? I've changed, Jane. I feel different now. I finished mourning our marriage. She got mad and said I was being cruel. I said I was being realistic. What I said in marriage counseling was my honest truth. I can no longer trust her ever again, and I will never forget her face when I caught her on D-Day. She shattered my trust and destroyed my love for her. She hit the table and called herself a stupid witch and cursed bird brain. She admitted she didn't know what she had until she lost it. She took me for granted. Then she made some proposals like granting her a period of reconciliation, opening our marriage on my side, and or to being friends with benefits. I told her she's being unreasonable. She asked me what I want from her. I told her I want her to be happy with whoever she chooses, and I will move on and be happy on my own. She asked if there is another woman in my life. I told her not yet, but someday. She covered her face with her hands. Sammy was sitting next to her and put her paw on her leg. I realized it was time to walk Sammy, around 10 p.m. Jane came with me. She was very quiet, walking by my side. When we were at the dog park, I took Sammy's leash off and she ran, sniffed, and rolled over in the dry grass. She loves that. Jane sat next to me and finally spoke. I'll never find love again. Yes, you will. There are a lot of fish in the pond. She told me at her new job, 2 coworkers have asked her out. Both are married. I asked, Have you reported them? She said it's not possible because they asked for a friendly going out, and that's very innocent from HR's point of view. I asked her if she's sure about those guys' intentions. She said both have their eyes glued to her breasts, so she's sure. She placed a picture of both of us on display like a-holes repellent. I laughed. She didn't laugh. She said she seriously thinks she'll be alone from now on, luring scumbags. She can't have children and she lost the love of her life. She asked me if I'll marry again. I told her I don't think so. I may not believe in marriage again. I didn't mention I do want to have children. I sent the audio to my lawyer, and days later he told me he didn't find anything showing reconciliation. Just useless chit-chat that'd be a waste of time if it's presented as evidence. Besides, it was a smart move to refer Jane as a third person because it sounds like I'm not talking directly to her. On my birthday, most of my extended family texted me and called to know how I was. I went to my parents' house. My brother and his wife were already there. Jane showed up with all my in-laws. We all played, ate, and enjoyed a big, tasty cake made by my mom. Best cook ever. No drama. Mother-in-law was in a good day. She felt confused, but she enjoys watching the twins play, even though she forgets they are her grandchildren. It really was a great day. When we cut the cake, I realized I had everything I wanted. My godchildren are still in my life. I forgave Jane, and my depression is almost gone. Several other things have happened since. On mid-December, I dated a single mother who tried to convince me to adopt her annoying child. That's a funny ride. If there's a place where I can post about disastrous dates, I'll tell you about it. One of my tenants wanted me to be her sugar daddy. I got my first tattoo on my shoulder. It's an Aztec eagle warrior, meaning I'm proud of my heritage and my ethnicity. If somebody has a problem with my appearance, I'll just shrug and continue being me. I'm a decent, hardworking person. Aztec eagle warriors used to wear a helmet made of the head of a royal eagle. Royal eagles are a symbol of freedom, honesty, and strength in my country. At the end of December, Jane quit her job because one of the coworkers harassing her was a big shot of the company. HR was gaslighting her, so the smartest move was to quit. I spent Christmas with the twins and her family. She's accepting we're done, but she's annoyingly friendly to me. On January, I made a Tinder profile. One of the kickboxing guys helped me making my profile. Although I had a few likes, I contacted a junior high teacher. She's witty and very funny. We started dating. Sadly, I know it's not going to last. She doesn't want children. She's a gamer, and I consider video games a waste of time. Besides, she wants me to stop practicing kickboxing because it's too violent. As you know, my divorce was over on February 17th. Jane texted me, "I know this is not the end for us." Days later, sister-in-law told me Jane got in the depression stage. She begged me to talk to her because she doesn't listen to me. She stopped working and she's very skinny. She used to sleep most of the day and refused to attend therapy until I talked to her. She wants me to contact her more frequently, but I told her this is precisely what is causing her depression. She has to let me go. That's it. I feel now I'm on the right path. I'm studying a lot to get the promotion, which will allow me to travel. I'm still doing great at the gym. I haven't sparred with Abraham again, but guys there asked me to help them. Finally, I got what I wanted, to be amicable with my ex, and I didn't lose my in-laws that I still consider them as my family. My godchildren love me, and I love them as my own children. I couldn't stand the thought of losing them. Because of them, I went through the rabbit hole. I went through the stages of mourning, and I got over Jane. In my country, the godparents are responsible for the kids if anything happens to mom and dad. Godparents are the second parents. To all who are mourning a marriage, don't let the bitterness get the best of you. There is light at the end of the dark tunnel. It takes time and dedication from you. Maybe not today, not tomorrow, but someday you'll get over all of this. I wish you the best. As a real rock star used to say, Bantar out. Firstly, I want to express my admiration for the journey you've been on. It takes immense strength to navigate the turbulent waters of a failing marriage, confront your own emotions, and emerge on the other side with clarity and determination. Your final update is a testament to your resilience and growth. Despite the challenges you faced, you maintained a steadfast commitment to finding happiness and forging a new path for yourself. Your willingness to seek guidance, whether from professionals or unexpected sources like your kickboxing coach, shows a humility and openness to change that is truly inspiring. It's heartening to see how you've embraced new experiences, from adopting Sammy to exploring kickboxing and even considering a tattoo as a symbol of your heritage and identity. These choices reflect a deep sense of self-awareness and a desire to live authentically. Update 7, February 17th, 2024. Update 1 year later. Hey champions. Today, February 17th, is a year since my marriage with Jane ended. I've received several requests for an update. I feel I owe that to all of you who helped me in the darkest period of my life. Since early 2023, guys at the gym started calling me abuelo, grandpa, because literally I'm the oldest person practicing kickboxing. My hair is completely black, but I've noticed I have some gray hair here and there. I don't mind the nickname because it means I'm one of the guys. Some of them have approached me for an old man's advice, such as how to manage taxes, how to wear a tie, help to polish their resume for a good job hunt. I follow my training and diet almost religiously. My weight may not have decreased, but my body fat did. I'm around 20% body fat, a huge accomplishment for me. Not everything has been peaches and cream. I got injured at the gym. I was training at the same pace as the young ones, but my body couldn't keep up. I got a muscle tear on my shoulder that took several months to heal. Also, at sparring, I was KO'd badly. Abraham has asked me to slow down and practice something less stressing for my body, like yoga or aikido. So I switched for the second option, where I found people about my age, but I'm thinner and more muscular. I'm sticking to martial arts. All my living expenses are paid for by the rental of my apartment, so most of my salary is saved since Samantha, my dog, and I live a very frugal life. The promotion I mentioned previously was given to another colleague. He does deserve it. There will be another in the future. It requires me to improve my English skills and study a second mastery degree. I did take dancing lessons. At the beginning I was very stiff, but I've been improving slowly. Also, I hired a music teacher to learn to play the keyboard. I keep busy myself. As for dating, some guy from the gym helped me to create a Tinder profile, but none of the ladies there caught my interest. Most of them are looking for hookups, a sugar daddy, or just somebody to be unfaithful with. While I'm looking for a more mature relationship. The first relationship I had after my divorce was a real nutcase. First, we need to talk about my mom's sister. She's truly a kind soul, always tries to help. However, sometimes her help causes some trouble since she tends to misunderstand or she makes wrong assumptions. Let's call her Aunt Angie. In December 2022, Angie called me to see if I'm free for a blind date. Since she's one of my favorite aunts, I accepted. She told me the girl was the daughter of her neighbor. I wanted more details, but she told me I would have to find out at the date. Aunt Angie texted me the place and date the following day. We met at lunchtime at a familiar restaurant. I know places more romantic to eat and have a nice time, but the lady wanted to eat there. I arrived on time. I'm always very punctual, but she came almost half an hour late with her kid, a chubby 10-year-old boy glued to his cell phone. Let's call them Jessica and Kevin. I didn't mind, but I thought it was weird to bring your child to a blind date. About Jessica. She's about 35, chubby, and pretty with a big cleavage and very high heels. She was wearing a lot of makeup and huge eyelashes I really dislike. Those remind me of women who go heavy on the silicone and their body looks deformed instead of aesthetic. I thought, let's give it a shot. She was all smiles and greeted me with a kiss on my cheek. Kevin and I shared a handshake. He looked at me for a second and then returned to his loud game. No idea what he was playing. I just heard gunshots, screams, and explosions. After some pleasantries, I noticed Jessica was focused on my assets. She asked me about my job, my car, also my salary. She knew I owned an apartment, thanks to Aunt Angie. I answered with general responses, which she didn't like. She wanted exact numbers. I told her I don't like discussing such matters, and she smiled, but something changed in her mood. She was annoyed. Then I asked her about her life. She told me she wouldn't tell me about her income, which I hadn't asked. She is a transcriptionist. She receives voice recordings and transcribes them into written reports. She can do it from home and take care of Kevin. She looked at her boy and smiled while petted his hair. Kevin didn't notice the gesture. He was still playing with his mouth opened. I asked what he was playing and Jessica answered for him. The kid seemed completely oblivious to his surroundings. We ordered food. I was starving since I only had a sandwich and a protein shake as breakfast. Kevin made a little tantrum because there wasn't his favorite burger on the menu. I told him there are other delicious hamburgers he can eat. He grabbed his paper napkin and threw it at me. I said that wasn't a nice thing to do. Jessica told me to never speak to her kid like that. She smooched the boy's cheek and promised he would like the new burger. The kid with tears in his eyes nodded and returned to his game. The rest of the date was not so bad. Fortunately, Kevin's phone battery died, so we had some peace, until the kid got bored and demanded his mom's attention. I tried to grab his attention, but he ignored me. Jessica said that's because I'm a stranger, and he's taught to ignore strangers. Fair enough. We dated 2 more times. Both times she brought Kevin with her. On the second date, I suggested going to a park and I brought a soccer ball for Kevin in hopes that he would like to play anything else than video games. But he wouldn't. Kevin didn't pay any attention to my gift. On the third date, I bought him a kite, which again he ignored, and he was especially annoying, throwing tantrums for the most idiotic reasons. I may have made a face of exasperation, and Jessica got mad. I told her I would like to have a date with only her, go to a bar or another place made for grown-ups. Third date was at McDonald's. Jessica made the comment, I only want to sleep with her. I said, that's the reason you carry your son with you? She freaking nodded and said she doesn't trust men, and gave a speech about how strong she is because men can't control her. Here's when Jessica showed her true colors. She asked again how much I earned before I repeat my answer. She told me that if I wanted a relationship with her, I would have to meet her expectations, and one thing that is obligatory is that I must give her my complete salary so she could manage it. Yeah, you read it right. I raised my eyebrows and thought, nice meeting you, I'm out of here. But at that moment, our order was ready. Don't judge me, it has been months since I ate a hamburger. So I stayed and asked, what are your expectations? I don't know if wolves smile, but I'd bet Jessica smiled like one. She started telling me all she wants. For example, I can keep my car, but I must buy her a new big one. About my car, I have a thing for small cars. Instead of buying a new one, I choose to repair mine, and it works perfectly, but Jessica thinks small cars are embarrassing. She's not a maid, so all the chores at home will be my responsibility, including cooking. She wanted to see my apartment to move there, or to a bigger place if she dislikes it. I must pay her, and her friends, they're going out. I asked how, since she wants to keep all my salary, she didn't have an answer. But she did mention that the salary thing is for her recognizing me as a man. That's what her father, now divorced to her cheating mother, used to do. The most ridiculous thing I must accept is that she is a free woman, meaning she can and will have male friends, and I must be loyal to her. Also, Kevin's father is not out of the picture. He travels a lot, and he's not usually around, but when he is in the city, either she may ask me to sleep in a hotel, or she may not come home. To all her expectations I answered, I see, or I understand. Never an affirmative answer. You might think I was angry, but I was amused. I thought these entitled narcissistic women were an exaggeration. Boy, they are real. Besides, I thought it would be a good laughable story for my buddies at the gym. She asked me if I have any questions. I did. I wanted to know what she would bring to the relationship. According to her, I must give her all my money and my loyalty, and turn a blind eye when she's cheating. She repeated she's a free woman, and I said, and I am not stupid. I'm out of here. I stood up, and she may have realized she was losing a good opportunity and desperately told me to sit and discuss it with her. She wanted to know what I was expecting from her. I repeated my question. What would you bring to the relationship? She said with a smile, you will have a high-value woman. I scoffed and said, is that it? That's just extra baggage in my life. I turned around and she yelled at me, calling me an ugly nobody that I don't deserve her. I told her, "You're right. I deserve better." All the people at the place were watching us. I said, "Show's over, folks," and left. When I arrived home, Jessica was calling me, and I blocked her. Later that same evening, Aunt Angie called me very concerned because her friend, Jessica's mom, called her demanding to know where I live. I invited her to have dinner and chat. She immediately said yes. She's usually alone. Her husband arrives late at night, and her 2 boys left the nest about 10 years ago. So we met at a cafe close to her house, and I told her about my last date with Jessica, and she understood why her friend was so mad. She told me about the time when she spoke to Jessica's mom about having a single beautiful daughter with a kid. She immediately thought about me divorcing Jane and wanting to have kids, so they arranged the blind date. Angie mentioned to her friend that I'm a feminist. Old school feminism. In her case, this means I respect women. But for Jessica and her mom, this means I'm a pushover. Modern feminism. That was the reason for her entitlement. Aunt Angie told me about her friend's affair that she denies, but everybody at the building knows that's the reason for her divorce. Angie's hairdresser saw her making out with another man. Also, she told me Kevin's father is a truck driver, but Jessica always says he's traveling because of business. I thought that would be the end of it, but they kept pestering Aunt Angie. I asked her if she needs me to call the police, but she said no unless they keep annoying her. I decided to unblock Jessica and called her. She was surprised. Then she fake cried, saying she missed me. She was sorry for what she said, and also Kevin asks every day about me. She told me she just wants to see me once, and that's all she asks. I said I'll see her if she promises to stop harassing my aunt. She promised. We 3 met at a park. Jessica hugged me and fake cried again. It's unbelievable how fast she can open and close the tears. Kevin is always glued to the phone and ignoring me. But Jessica assured me he asks for me every day. He loves me, and finally if I accept becoming his daddy. I squatted in front of Kevin and gently pushed down his phone, and he looked at me. I smiled and asked, "Hi, Kevin. Do you know who I am?" The kid turned his head to her mom, who was mouthing my name, but he didn't understand. He looked at me again and shrugged his shoulders. I moved his hair and let him continue playing. Jessica said, It's because he calls you another way." I turned and said, "As you promised, stop pestering my aunt, or we'll call the cops." She tried to stop me. She followed me and turned the tears on again, calling me a heartless person. Then she said, if at least I can buy Kevin a Christmas present, like a sayonara gift. I told her I already gave him a soccer ball and a kite, but she says he wants a video game. By then, we arrived at my car. I said, "Ask his father. Why don't you sue him for child support?" And this time really was the last time I've seen her. Aunt Angie says she hasn't seen them again. My next relationship was from a match on Tinder. Guys at the gym helped me with the pictures. I'm a 5, but they made me look like a 7 with no filters. I was happy with the result. The match was a teacher, very pretty and independent, with no kids, a single, let's call her Erica, female 32. When I met her, I could see she was overweight, but we had great chemistry. She's witty and very intelligent. We could talk for hours. She was a welcome to my home, as I was to hers. We had very passionate nights. She told me I inspired her to return to the gym. This is the time when I had a muscle tear and I had to slow down with the workout. So we exercised together. At the end, she was very sore, so she skipped 2 days. Then she returned and felt sore again. This time she skipped a week. She came back for 3 days, and then suddenly she had a lot of excuses to avoid the gym. So I stopped asking. Some weeks later, I was knocked out badly at sparring. At first, I was disoriented. Then for the following days, I was dizzy and had sudden nausea. Erica tried to stop me practicing martial arts. "They are too violent." She told me she wouldn't return to the gym because she was worried about me getting hurt again. Why did we break up? There are 2 main reasons. The first one is that she had a crush on a colleague and she acted on the crush. The second is the main reason and my excuse to end the relationship. But first you must know that she's a gamer. I don't have a problem with that, but she often avoids her responsibilities to play video games, and she plays a lot of games. That's when the problems started. She had always time to play, but never to exercise or do her job. Once we didn't sleep at all in the one night because she was late to complete a task that was due the following day, and I helped her. That was getting on my nerves. About a month later, I met her goofy friends at a bar. We had some drinks. They weren't easy on the alcohol and made fun of me because I only drank a couple of beers. That's because I had to drive and I didn't drink a lot because of my training. These meetings took place every 2 weeks. Once they mentioned a new colleague that arrived at a school a couple of weeks after Erica and I met. Let's call him Ivan. Erica with sparkling eyes was saying that Ivan does a lot of exercise and he's handsome. That was my first red flag. She didn't put a cork on it. I didn't want to sound paranoid, so I let it slide. But from there, I paid close attention to her behavior. The next red flag? The last time we met, she mentioned I can stay in since it looked like I wasn't having a good time with her friends. I said that's nonsense and invited myself in. When we arrived, I noticed the new guy sitting with her friends. It was Ivan, male 30. Erica was supposedly surprised. I chatted with him. He's a cool guy and single with a girlfriend. We both chat about the gym, exercising, and shared some tips. Erica inserted herself into the conversation to tell him we both exercise a lot. It's been about 3 months since she stopped going to the gym. I just nodded. I didn't want to make her look bad in front of her friends. From there, our intimacy slowed down. The following week, Ivan texted me. I didn't give him my number. He got it from Erica. I asked if they both chat a lot. He told me it's mostly her texting him. How interesting. He doesn't like chatting with female colleagues since his girlfriend is very insecure. That same day, I confronted Erica at her home about our lack of intimacy and asked if she wants to end things. She told me she was sorry, that she didn't want us to break up, and we did it right there. Afterwards, I asked if she had a crush on Ivan. She laughed and said she considers him like a little brother. I didn't buy it. On our last day together, I had to attend a meeting out of the city. According to my calculations, I'd arrive home around midnight. I asked Erica to walk Sammy at 10 p.m. She agreed. I pleaded her not to play video games because she'd forget. She promised she wouldn't play that night. During the day, Ivan texted me that I would be going to the next meeting because Erica always insisted him on going. The first day, when she acted surprised, she had invited him. Also, she flirts a lot with him. I was going to confront her about this. I arrived home close to midnight and Sammy was hiding under the table. This was very strange of her. Then Erica told me she had to beat her up because she peed inside the house. I argued that my dog has never done that before and I demanded an explanation. Then she lied again, telling me she was watching a movie and out of nowhere Sammy peed. I went to the living room where she had connected her devices to my TV. One of them was warm, meaning she had played. I spoke calmly. You forgot to take out Sammy, right? Because you were playing? Am I wrong? She got defensive and started raising her voice, and so did I. I was angry she hurt my pet when she was in the wrong. She yelled I care more for a stupid dog than her feelings, and then she said very hurtful things, like I'm her worst lover, I have never made her finish, and that she's sure I'm going to die alone. That would have crushed the old me. I stopped arguing with her. What's the point when she's defending her wrongdoing? And watched her ranting. She got angrier and angrier when I started ignoring her. At least she finally stopped. I said, "Are you done? This is over." One more thing I forgot to add to the list of her delightful qualities is that she's very prideful. She took out her phone and contacted an Uber. Meanwhile, I was trying to convince Sammy to leave her hiding spot. She refused. When the Uber arrived, she said, "Make sure to send me my stuff." After she left, Sammy finally came out from under the table. I had forgotten to confront her about her lies. The next day I bought a big box and put all of her stuff in there. Clothes, shoes, toiletries, video games, 2 consoles, even food she stored in my refrigerator that I don't eat. I went to her apartment, put the box in front of the door, and rang the bell. When she saw me, I said, "Here are your things. Let me know if I missed something," and walked away. I heard her say, "Wait." I raised my hand and said, "You're welcome," and left. She tried to contact me, but I'm no longer interested, so I blocked her. The same day, Ivan texted me, saying he's sorry Erica and I broke up. I thanked him and asked how he knew. Erica had told him. A month later, she came to my home all apologetic. I found out later she tried to kiss Ivan, but he refused and reported her to HR. Ivan told me himself, "We're good buddies now." But by then, by pure coincidence, I was with my next relationship. When Jane and I made the purpose of having a healthier life, the first step was to contact a nutritionist. Her name is Mayra. We scheduled a monthly appointment. When our results were showing and improving, the appointments were every 2 months, 3 months, and nowadays every 6 months as a follow-up. The last 2 sessions I went alone. Mayra asked me why Jane is not with me. I told her we had divorced. Then we chat for the rest of the session. She told me Jane and I were her most successful case, and she loves to brag to other patients about us. She said she remembers when I arrived all clumsy, chubby, and shy. Now I'm more extroverted and with a well-worked body. She thought that was endearing, so I glimpsed a possibility of a relationship with her. She told me if I'm interested, she needs a +1 for her son's wedding. I had to reject her because I was dating Erica. But a month later we ended things, and I texted Mayra. We met for a coffee. I asked her if I still would be her +1. She said yes. She asked the reason of my change of mind. I told her about Erica and what she did to my pet. She got angry because she loves dogs. I asked if she was married. It turned out she's divorced, and she and her husband ended the marriage when her son was a kid. She had had boyfriends for the next years until the last guy got fired a couple of months ago because she doesn't want to get married again. I learned she is a year older than me, but she looks like she's in her 30s. Beautiful face, thin body, and great sense of humor. I asked if it's okay since I'm her patient, so it would be unethical. She told me I can fire her as my nutritionist. At the end of the date, I said, "I guess I'll have to find a new nutritionist," and she kissed me. She's not looking for anything serious. She wants to have fun. I asked how many guys she's having fun with. She looked offended. She told me I am the only one. When she knew I had divorced, she thought it was a perfect timing because that was the same day she decided to date again. She thinks God put me in her path for some reason. I agreed. Finally, I asked if she wants us to be exclusive, and she said it's not necessary. She sees me as her friends with benefits. So we started going out, having dates, and lots of sex. She loves my tattoo. At her son's wedding, the dancing lessons were very useful. Her son was very cordial to me, but I could see a small, "you don't deserve my mom" glimpse in his eyes. When Erica came to apologize, Mayra was inside my home. She had slept with me and was wearing one of my shirts. I was wearing sandals, shorts, and a t-shirt. Mayra came to the door when I was hearing Erica's excuses. Mayra was purring and said to me, "Here's your coffee, stud." She gave me a cup of coffee and slapped my butt. Then she looked at Erica and added, "I'm sorry, I didn't know we have company." She hugged me by my back and put her chin on my shoulder and one of her pedicured feet on my knee. Erica left with tears in her eyes. I told Mayra, "That was mean." She said, "She's the one who hurt Sammy, right?" I asked, "How do you know?" Then I noticed Sammy was hiding under the table again. Okay, she may deserve it. The following week, I texted Ivan and mentioned Erica looks miserable. On midst of September, it was a Saturday around 8 p.m. I was chilling out at home studying when I suddenly heard Jane hitting my door. I was very concerned. My first thought was that something happened to mother-in-law or one of the twins. When I opened the door, she was in tears. She hugged me, saying, "I didn't speak to him, I swear." She buried her face in my chest when I said, "Babe, please talk to me." In front of me was standing Birdbrain, wearing a sleeveless t-shirt. Jane hid behind me and shouted at him, "Leave me alone." By then, Samantha started to bark. That made Birdbrain stop approaching. My anger kicked in and yelled, "You heard her, a-hole, F off." Birdman ignored me and shouted at Jane, "Babe, come with me, let's talk." I stepped sideways and blocked his view. He looked at me and said, "Come on, man, you two are divorced, right? She's no longer your concern." He was right, but I guess I hate more Birdbrain than I am mad at Jane. I told her, "Go into my house and call the emergencies." She obeyed. When the door closed, Birdbrain didn't say a word, he just stared at me with anger or hate. I started walking towards him, my fist clenched. He turned around and ran away. He got into a car that I hadn't noticed. The driver gave me the finger and they left. Then I noticed Jane's car was parked wrongly and still had the lights on. I entered my home. She hugged me again. She was a little incoherent and shaking. She apologized. "I'm sorry I brought him here. I came because I don't want him to know where I live. I swear I didn't speak to him." I gave her a hot beverage to calm her down. When the police came, about 2 hours later, she filed a report. She was more in control of herself. According to Jane, Birdbrain was outside her gym waiting for her. When she saw him, she ran to her car and didn't know what to do. She was looking for a police officer or a patrol, but couldn't find any. Finally, she decided to come to my home. When the cops left, they suggested to put a camera recording the exterior. After I returned from walking Sammy, Jane asked if it's okay to stay. "You always make me feel safe." I agreed, but not to hanky-panky. She smiled and accepted. She was still wearing her gym clothes. I told her to have a shower. She asked me if she can wear one of my shirts. I said sure. What do women have with men's shirts? She giggled and went to the bathroom. She did something that I think was intentional. She left her cell phone on the table while she took a shower. Perhaps she wanted me to snoop, but I didn't. Why should I? After calling sister-in-law, we watched a movie. She was lying on the sofa and eventually she fell asleep. Watching her sleep with a sad face made me think about the time when she and I were married. I will never trust her, but I do care about her. I admired her body. She's still very attractive. I put a blanket on her and went to sleep. I had an erotic dream where Jane came to my room like a naked ghost ready to meet my most dirty fantasies. Next day, Sunday, she woke up and said it's been a long time since she slept that well. She was happy and prepared a nice breakfast while we discussed about Birdbrain. I had something nagging in my mind. How did he know how to find her? And how did he know we are divorced? She told me she may have mentioned she liked certain chains of gyms, so Birdbrain must have been checking all of them in the zone until he found her. Also, it's obvious we're no longer married since she had to knock on my door and it's not our previous address. I guess she may be saying the truth. She said she's going to ask for a restriction order against him. I asked if she knows where he lives. Yeah, I'm that paranoid. Jane told me it's obvious she doesn't know, but it is very possible he will be guarding the gym where he was waiting for her. So she's going to pay somebody to serve him right there. She did that, and the moron asked the lawyer who gave him the document where he can find Jane. On November 19th, due to a liver disease, my mom passed away. One day before my birthday. If I was devastated, my father and brother were in the worse condition than me. My parents were married for 47 years, and my brother was my mom's favorite. It's impossible to put into words the sadness, the regret, and all the pain we were feeling in that moment. I texted Mayra. She gave me her condolences, and told me she will pray for my family. Next, I texted Jane. She didn't answer, but 20 minutes later, an Uber parked in front of the hospital, and Jane got out with her eyes red and hurried to hug me and my family. My father, brother, and his wife went to pray at the hospital's chapel. The doctor gave me a list of all the documentation needed to release my mom's body. Also, he advised me to bring in a tire in which my mom could be cremated. Jane said,
"I'm coming with you."
We went to my parents' house to gather all the documents. I was very sad, but Jane's company helped me to stay focused. I wept a couple of times when I saw my mom's clothes. So many memories. Jane was ready to comfort me. After that, we went to my home to walk Sammy. I had a little chat with Jane when her father passed away. I was there to support her. She told me it is time for her to back me up, and I agreed. We returned to the hospital to hand the documents in. My father and brother were next to my mom's empty bed. They had already contacted family and friends. I hugged them. My father thanked me for taking care of the process. He may not be able to do it. Jane was contacting the funeral staff. My father went to my brother's home. I had to wait and sleep in the hospital, and Jane stayed with me. By 4 a.m, somebody woke me up and told me everything is ready. I received the documents and sent them by text message to the funeral contact. The funeral arranger called me some minutes later. He told me they would take care of everything from there. He gave me the address and room where we can say goodbye to my mom. Jane and I went to grab a bite. After eating, Jane asked me to take her home. I did, and she pleaded me not to go. Sister-in-law gave me her condolences. My godkids were at home since it was a holiday. They showed me they were doing homework. I cheered just by talking to them. Jane came back rushing with a birthday gift for me. This put a smile on my face. It was a big box. She gave me a wallet and some supplements for the gym. Afterwards, we went to my home to feed Sammy, and I took a shower. It's amazing how animals perceive sadness. I cried silently in the shower, and Sammy was scratching the door. Jane took her from her collar to the dining room, but she returned and whined. When I came out of the bathroom, she jumped to lick my face like saying, "Cheer up!" Jane and I arrived at the funeral home. After I identified myself, they told us my mom was already there and the embalming was scheduled by the next 2 hours. Meanwhile, we brought some flowers and went to the closest supermarket to buy coffee, tea, bread, cookies, etc. for the attendees. At our return, they told me it is time to dress my mom, but I froze. 6 years ago when father-in-law died, we were in the same situation. Somebody had to dress him. Sister-in-law's husband and I did it, and it's a scene I'll never forget. It took us a while to dress him, and then somebody applied makeup to his face to look more natural. All these thoughts came to my mind. I didn't want them to be my last memories of my mom. Jane knew this, so she stepped up. She told me she would take care of her. Jane and the staff did a great job. Somehow they could put a little smile on her face. It looked like she was peacefully sleeping. Jane came to me, hugged me, and cried. I understood. I did exactly the same thing 6 years ago. I don't want to know what she saw. Aunt Angie and all my piblings, and most of my nibblings and cousins were there. Also, my gym buddies, Abraham and Ivan, showed up. Some of them remembered it was my birthday and gave me a bittersweet hug. I texted Mayra the address and room, but she told me she was very busy and she had to attend more patients the next day early, so she wouldn't come. I accepted it. She didn't meet my mom. Besides, she was clear from the beginning that this was a casual relationship. I didn't press it. Jane, on the other hand, was offering beverages and snacks, but most of my relatives ignored her. I noticed my cousin Karen and some others glaring at her. This was not fair. She has been nothing but helpful to me and my family. She loved and respected my mom. She returned next to me with a tray full. She told me, "I guess they are not hungry." I put the tray on a table next to us and told her, "I haven't thanked you for all your help. I'll do anything you want, just ask." She didn't look at me.
"No need to thank me. She was like a mother to me too."
I put my arm on her shoulder. "Anyway, I'm really grateful you are here," and kissed her forehead. A lot of people stared at us. I smiled to them, but Jane seemed uncomfortable. She said,
"I'm going to see who wants a snack,"
and left. The tray was still on the table. Fortunately, my relatives were kinder to her the rest of the process, but Jane didn't come close to me until my mom was cremated. She hugged me very quickly and told me she had to go. The next days were sad and chaotic. Mayro went to see me. She apologized she lied to me because she admitted sad people affect her. She wanted to have a date because that day was my birthday. Instead, she stayed in and felt bad because it's the first time she had lied and she's aware of what lies can do to a relationship. I accepted her apologies, but I also told her I'm not very fun company at the moment. I was still mourning my mom. She said she was aware of that. She just wanted to come clean to me and perhaps cook and have dinner with me. I loved the idea. In the following days, Jane came to my house. I let her come in. She was mad and yelling. I had to lock Sammy up because she started barking to Jane. Then she demanded to know about the kiss I gave her. I'm paraphrasing here. I don't remember the exact words. I told her it was to tell my family we were cool because I noticed they were being rude to her. Jane kept silent. Some tears came to her eyes.
"Don't ever do that again."
I was perplexed. She continued yelling at me. "You don't know how hard it was for me to get over you, and that kiss destroyed all therapy I had for the last months." I apologized. I wasn't thinking about her feelings at all. She continued, "You just keep my hopes high, you effing a-hole." Wow, she cursed. I looked at her like she was an alien. Then she punched my arm and continued cursing me. "Effing idiot, scumbag, son of a bee." She started punching my arms and chest. I didn't do anything, just let her rant. Her punches weren't doing any damage, but they did hurt. She did it for several minutes while Sammy was barking in the next room. Jane was out of breath. I hugged her. Somehow, I knew she needed to let this out. She looked intensely into my eyes. We kissed, completely making out. When we stopped, she called me stupid and slapped me. I smiled. I was so aroused to see this ferocious Jane. Finally, we ended up having intimacy very rough and vigorous. I missed that voluptuous body and her pretty face. We would have continued, but Sammy needed to go out. When we were at the dog park, we put the cards on the table. Jane already knew about my relationship with Mayra. I said I wouldn't end it, although we're in a friends with benefits non-exclusive relationship. Jane said she understood, but she can't have a relationship like that. I told her that's the only relationship I can offer for her. She sighed and said she may cut ties with me for good. I asked what she will do from now. She said she didn't know. I asked for another round since it seems it's the last time we will see each other. She agreed and spent the night with me. The following weeks I didn't hear from Jane, nor I asked. What a pity. Besides all the drama, she was a good friend. I spent Christmas with my father and brother. We were very sad. My mom used to cook and now we three morons had to do it ourselves. It was a really good experience. We were busy with all the cooking. I had to give directions to my dad and brother since I was the only one that can cook. We made a very decent Christmas meal. I cooked a turkey for the first time. We ate, cried, toasted on my mom's memory. It was sad, but we three had a good time. Several relatives invited us to spend Christmas with them, but we wanted to be alone. Mayra stayed with her parents, and sister-in-law, my brother's wife, also was out of the city. By the beginning of 2024, somebody was knocking on my door. It was Jane. I asked, "Is everything all right?" She pushed me inside and started kissing me. She said, "I accept." She accepted to have a friends with benefits relationship with me. I reminded her I was still dating Mayra, and she said she knew, but she still wants to be with me. I asked what made her change her mind. She told me she tried to date again, but it was the same as last time. She compared both dates with me. I asked, "What about your therapy?" She said the aim of the therapy is to make her feel good about herself, and she felt great last month when we had sex, including the following days after we met. We had a quickie because I had somewhere to be. Also, at night, I had a date with Mayra, who accepted my relationship with Jane, but she doesn't want to meet her. So now we have a friends with benefit relationship. That's great. I really like her body, expressions, and her conversation. I've been balancing my life with two beauties, my studies, dancing, and keyboard lessons. My training, I resumed my therapy with my thanatologist to close some issues I had with my mom. I have a new tattoo, an orchid on my chest next to my heart. It was my mom's favorite flower. I haven't given up to the idea of becoming a father. Meanwhile, I'll enjoy my relationship with these two extraordinary ladies. I'm okay with my life for now. Of course, life isn't without its challenges, and your injury served as a reminder to the importance of listening to your body and adjusting your activities accordingly. Moreover, your foray into the dating scene certainly hasn't been dull, with encounters ranging from the downright bizarre to the deeply disappointing. It sounds like you've had your fair share of ups and downs, but it's good to see you finding some stability and balance in your life now. And it's touching to see how you've honored your mother's memory, especially with a tattoo of her favorite flower. Finding joy and fulfillment amidst the challenges life throws at us isn't always easy, but it seems like you're trying your best. And as I've mentioned before, just be careful of Jane. Don't let her beam you back up with her body. Stay on track, OP. Keep your head in the game. What do you make of all this? Is OP making a mistake by keeping his ex so close? Do you have a similar story? Share it with us in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.